Good evening and welcome to the 14th edition of the Alabama Crimson Tide live call-in show from yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and my partner in crime, Jeffrey at Only Taught Sports, where he taught sports every single day, or at least he tries to, and he's keeping up with Indiana athletics and Alabama athletics, or at least he tries to. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a wild ride as always, and of course, we take your calls. Whether you're an Alabama fan, a Tennessee fan, Auburn fan, Ohio State fan, SEC fan, we don't care who you pull for. We want to hear your takes on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And let me tell you something, folks. It's a wild ride as always, every week on Alabama, the voice of college football. How you doing today, good buddy?
Doing pretty good, Jackson. Absolutely. Like you said, staying busy, talking tons of sports and all that kind of stuff. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about with Alabama, for sure. I saw, when you had the X post on there talking about Ryan Grub. Yeah, Ryan Grub getting fired by the Seahawks, right? And it's like I love when stuff like this happens, not because of somebody getting fired, but it's because Ryan Grub, he turned down, right? He turned down Bama, and he goes to the NFL, and then after 1 year, 1 year he gets fired, and I'm like, yeah, not the greatest move. So now it's like you've got a shot to do what you probably originally should have done, and Ryan Grubb going to Alabama to be offensive coordinator, if that occurs, would probably be really good for him. And it would be very good for Alabama as well, because Nick Sheridan is not it. I mean, I think we're all in agreement that Nick Sheridan is not the best guy for offensive coordinator at Alabama. I've had extensive research and knowledge of this guy and past experience watching him be the offensive coordinator in Indiana. He was not good. And at Alabama, with way more talent, felt like he underperformed mightily. Didn't run the ball very much. Didn't, utilize Milroe's strengths. So even though I don't think Ryan Grubb would have necessarily done all that much better with Milroe, because of the fact Ryan Grubb is still used more to a passing-friendly offense, I think he would have done better than Sheridan. And hopefully a move will be made in that direction for Alabama. And again, not happy Grubb got fired. I just think it's a little bit ironic and a little funny, though, because it's like you think it's going to work out for him going to the NFL, and it just doesn't. It's just funny how that happens. But we'll see if he ends up going to Bama and if it works out for Alabama in the long run with that. But definitely can't wait to talk about some Crimson Tide football tonight and news, and appreciate everybody for being here so far, and can't wait to take some calls.
There we go. And before we talk a little bit about our take on Ryan Grubb and Nick Sheridan, all that stuff, come on in and become a YouTube member of Alabama, the voice of college football, where you can become a Crimson Faithful member for $2.99 a month, where you will have a loyalty badge next to your name in the comments and in the live chat, and you get a member shout out, custom emoji to use in the comments and the live chat. And for $4.99 a month, you can become a Saban disciple, where you will get priority replies to comments and access to monthly hangouts with yours truly and Jeffrey at Only Taught Sports and Johnny Burts. And you can connect on social media with each of us and give out content requests of any kind. And in return, you can become a Bear Bryant legend on Alabama, the voice of college football. And neither rain, nor sleet, nor snow, nor bad weather, and nor wildfires, or any bad weather or bad events are not going to put a stop to us. We will make sure we fulfill your requests. We're not going to let tornadoes put a stop to us. We will fulfill them. We will fulfill them. That we can promise you. Right here on Alabama, the voice of college football.
Absolutely. You're not going to want to miss out on being a member at Alabama, the voice of college football. We got a ton of great content coming down the road. Johnny, Jackson, and me. And like Jackson said, I mean, whatever requests you have, we'll do the best we can. Can't promise it. We'll do the best we can to make that happen. But appreciate everybody who is already a member of Alabama, the voice of college football, and hope more of you joined the party. Dreadnought Fear says, Jeffrey, if you got Arthur Smith, would that make you happy? What do you think about that, Jackson? Arthur Smith. Mid. I mean, I would think it'd be the worst hire, but no.
I'm just waiting for you to say mid, man, because like it's just like I was like he's mid. He's mid.
I mean, I don't know what other
I've
word.
heard people say that. It's like, wait a minute, did they just like use Jeffrey's catchphrase?
Yeah, I love that word. I try not to overuse it, but
He's
I mean,
mid.
It's just, I love saying it though. Like, you're not good, you're not bad, you're just mid. I mean, that's it.
We're gonna get that on a T-shirt one of these days.
Hey, wait, tons of T-shirt ideas, man. We'll make it happen. Dave here says you're basically a Waffle House. I'll make that a T-shirt as well.
That's funny.
Oh man. The real MVP said there's a lot of mid out there. Yes. The issue is most people use mid for bad. Well, I mean, I don't personally. I mean that's where I differ from most people. But I mean, in their defense, though, there's a lot of bad things in the world right now. So I mean, if you don't want to just keep using bad or garbage or trash, then mid. I mean, it's the hot word. But then that word will get old and people will come up with something else, right? I mean, so Dreadnought Fear says Ryan Grub is a wash. Well, what do you think about that?
Well, he was the fall guy for the Seahawks, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think one bad year. Technically, it's a bad year, I guess. I wouldn't say it was a horrible year, but I mean, like a bad season for Seattle, whatever, is like now Ryan Grubb can't coach offense. I mean, he did a great job at Washington. He did a great job at Fresno State. So, in my opinion, I think that, he's a good college offensive coordinator. And until that's proven otherwise, I think that he would be an upgrade over Nick Sheridan. I mean, Nick Sheridan was not very good. I mean, I can't stress that enough. Alabama, we talked all season about the fact that they didn't run the ball. I mean, I've never in my life have seen Alabama so unwilling to run the football. And historically, that's what they're known for. I know football's different now. I know you have to be able to pass the ball, at a high rate. But I was just so unimpressed with the play calling. I was so unimpressed with the lack of running the football. And I think Ryan Grubb would do a better job. If you watch Washington, even though Penix and they had that air raid attack, they still ran the ball decently well, better than Alabama did this season. So I mean, you would hire Grubb, right? I mean,
I know I would. I
would, yeah. I mean, I don't think you're going to get anybody else that maybe would be better. I mean, I would be shocked if they could get someone that both me or you, Jackson, would think would be better than him. I mean, you already you have the connection with Grubb, with DeBoer. It just fits. It works. I think that should happen. And if he doesn't work out, then you're gonna have to get someone else. But I think they should do that.
Well, and like Johnny and I, where I know like there's like a huge divide in Alabama Nation where a lot of Alabama Nation, like you have said, let's go get Grubb. Some of Alabama Nation has just been like, nah, we got to stick it out with Sheridan for at least 2025. Me, I'm kind of like, on the one hand, let's stick with him for half a season, but I'm listening on Ryan Grubb. Tell me more. Tell me more about the magic that Ryan Grubb brought at Washington and Fresno State and all over the place throughout his coaching career.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I could be wrong. I know you would know this better than me, but Alabama, they don't have two offensive coordinators, right? Like Sheridan's just the offensive coordinator, correct? Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of teams, and I know that you've seen this before, but there are some teams in college football that have co-offensive coordinators. What Alabama could do is bring Ryan Grubb in and be a co-offensive coordinator at Alabama and have him basically be the main play caller and then keep Sheridan as a co-offensive coordinator, but like reduce his duties. You can do that. I mean, I've seen that. That actually has worked. Like, I think Indiana technically had co-offensive coordinators. Like, because this past season, Mike Shanahan was like the offensive coordinator, but then Tino Sunseri was like the co-offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach. He didn't call the plays, but he was technically like an offensive coordinator. So IU did it. If Indiana did it, then you can do that with Grub and Sheridan. Now, Sheridan might be irritated, but it's better than getting fired. So, and then, Sheridan could learn from Grub, get better, and then maybe retake the job if Grub leaves again. You could do that. Like I said, though, egos, you don't know how that stuff's going to work. I don't know, but I think that's a possibility that you could do. I mean, I just am not impressed with Nick Sheridan. I've already seen him at Indiana, and I know that Indiana did not have as much talent, but still. The drop-off from Kalen DeBoer at OC to Nick Sheridan at OC at IU was massive. It was massive. Yeah. And I just felt like Bama vastly underperformed what they could have done with this offense. Even though I will admit that Alabama's offense was not as good. I mean, outside of Ron Williams, there was not a whole lot of talent on the outside. So, I don't know. Can't blame, I guess, Sheridan completely, but I don't know. I think that Grub would still be better, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't really tell where things are going to go like right now, but like we'll have a better point of view in like say October 2025 or November or by the time spring practice ends. Something
Absolutely.
like that. But I know Dave's here says fans from every team want their coach fired at some point. Agreed.
Oh, that's true. I mean, like Indiana basketball, already having to plug them, but like Mike Woodson was about off a cliff a month ago, and now he's it's simmered down because Indiana basketball's on a win streak. But give it a few more games, few more losses, he'll be right back on the hot seat again. It's just the way that it works. I absolutely agree with that statement from Dave, though. I mean, like Bruce Pearl in college basketball was on the hot seat a couple years ago. Now he's fine again. I mean, every coach. I mean, I don't think Saban really ever was at Bama because, again, the standard was just ridiculous. But look at Ohio State. Ryan Day was on fire, and now Ryan Day's fine. So
I know, right?
It is cringe, man. It's really cringy.
It's like you said. It's all about perspective. Like you cited West Virginia. As a matter of fact, you cited it right here on the Alabama College Show several weeks ago. That West Virginia, as a perfect example, they were loving on Neil Brown. Now they're like, oh, he's the most hated man on the planet. We hate this guy. But and as Darrell says, the overreaction is in college football is something else. Here, Alabama fans wanted a head coach fired after losing their first game. Well, not us, but like when I was getting my haircut the day after at the salon, there were a few people that were wanting his head that were like, Nick Saban wouldn't have done that. Nick Saban wouldn't have done that. It's like,
I can guarantee you that Nick Saban would not have lost to that Oklahoma game.
That's true.
I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, there is no way. I've done everything in my power to refrain from using that because it is so cliche. A million people have said it, and it's annoying. Right. But it is true. There's no way Nick Saban loses to that Oklahoma team, and I don't think they lose to Vandy either. I mean, I don't know what Nick Saban's record would have been this season. I don't know, or this past year, whatever. I don't know if they'd have gone 10-2, 11-1. I don't know. But they're not losing to Oklahoma, and they're not losing to Vandy. It's just not happening, and especially the way they lost those games, especially Oklahoma. The only reason I give Vandy a little bit of credit is because Vandy, I felt, actually played well. Now, that was because Bama didn't, but Vandy played well. Oklahoma did not play well. Alabama just sucked. That Oklahoma game was the most pathetic football game that Alabama has played probably since the UL Monroe game in 2007. I can't think of another game. I really can't. I mean, you could go down, Jackson, in the last 17 years of Alabama football and find another just trash game. But I really don't think that you can find one as bad as that Oklahoma game. I was watching that game, and I'm like, man, it looks like I'm watching like freaking Boston College play football. You know what I'm saying? Stanford. Like, it looked that bad. I'm like, what is happening right now? It was a horrible game. The Vandy game didn't even do that for me, but that Oklahoma game sure did. And yeah, I can understand why Bama fans like calling for his head, but he's not getting fired. Like
Right.
DeBoer's not going to get fired after year one. He would have had to go on 1-11 or like 3-9 or 2-10 to do that.
Brandon Walker, it's funny, like at Brandon Walker, Barstool Sports was sitting there saying, "Oh, Kale DeBoer should be fired after 1 year." It's like he's a 2-and-out coach. I'm like, dude, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
A lot of the times that those takes that certain individuals online say is just to get attention. I mean, for real. I'm not even saying that it's in bad faith. A lot of times they might actually believe what they say. Some of these people that say these things for real, but a lot of times it's just to get attention. So
True. But I will say, though, in order to make the pain go away for what Alabama's been going through, as Breakaway 34 says, hit the like button and subscribe to Alabama with the Voice of College Football. And click on the notification bell so you never miss no video whatsoever. Let's get to 3,000 subs. Let's beat Texas at the Voice of College Football to 4,000 subs.
yeah, we're catching up on them a little bit. We're getting there. And
There we
definitely
go.
appreciate the support and appreciate you being a member, Breakaway 34, and always with the support. Appreciate it.
Jackson Sounder being that's funny. And speaking of which, we have our first caller, the real MVP.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you doing this evening?
Oh, we're doing great.
Good,
How you
Darrell.
doing tonight, good buddy?
The offensive coordinator for Seattle. I don't blame Seattle's offense on him. I just never believe in Geno Smith. Like
Geno Smith is so overrated.
Exactly. I mean, look at Sam Darnold this year. He's having a great year, and we know he's a scrub. So anybody can have 1 year, be great, and then go back to what they are. And that's, to me, what Seattle was. They should have never, in my opinion, paid Geno Smith all this money and locked in on him. They should have went out, drafted somebody, and developed them. And I just think the whole situation with Seattle, they just put the offensive coordinator in an unfair position. But what are your thoughts?
I don't disagree. I mean, I always have been a detractor of Geno Smith. The Pro Bowl season, I didn't have Twitter yet. I did not have Twitter yet, but if I did, I would have tweeted something in the nature of Geno Smith is like one of the worst Pro Bowl years for a quarterback of all time. Like he wasn't even that good that season, and they gave him Pro Bowl, like whatever. And the fact that he's got so much talent, I mean, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Kenneth Walker, like you should be just killing it, man. I mean, like all that talent. I know Lockett's getting older, but still, I mean, it's no excuse for Geno Smith to be as mid as he is. They're using that word again. And with, having like one touchdown and 2 picks, stuff like that, just game after game, couple 100 yards. He's just average at best. And they overhyped him for that 1 year. And with the amount of talent they have on offense, they should be a lot better. So I don't think Geno's that good.
Well, I can tell you one guy that got overhyped more than Geno Smith. It was Daniel Jones after 2022.
Well, the Giants are just dumb.
I know, right? It's like, yeah.
The Giants are a great case of how to lose football games. Like, it feels like their goal is to lose every game and be the first team ever to go 0-17. I mean,
yeah, they're almost worse than the Panthers. They actually might be.
They are worse than the Panthers. The Panthers, I think, won 5 games this year.
Yeah, they went 5-12. Bryce showed improvement. Now Tepper's got to actually do his job.
I was watching a little bit of NFL Primetime on ESPN Plus for a little bit today, and I was watching Chris Berman get all excited about Bryce Young and the Panthers.
I mean, the Panthers at least were somewhat relevant. I mean, at least they did something. I mean, when you're at the very bottom of the floor, the only direction you can go is up, and that's what the Panthers did this year. I mean, so good for them. But I want to ask you all about this narrative that is forming around college football. Probably the biggest narrative I've ever seen is the Big Ten is better than the SEC. Are you gentlemen aware of this narrative? Have you seen it out in the ecosystem? Because it's literally everywhere.
I probably know exactly what angle you're going with, but I'm not sure if I'm going to say the right one. So let me hear it.
I've got a lot of angles to go with it because it's it's not objective, but it's not true. The SEC is still better than the Big Ten if you go by the results. And here's a perfect example: the Alabama-Michigan game. Okay, everybody's like, "Oh my goodness, Michigan beat Alabama. This is a massive upset." Michigan is the 6th best team in the Big Ten. Okay, if you look at the standings, they are 6th. Alabama, 5th or 6th. So it isn't this massive gap in disparity that everybody's making it out to be. If Minnesota, or not even Minnesota, if Michigan State beat Alabama, that'd be a massive upset, a big deal. But Michigan beating Alabama, arguably, is what they should have done. Because all we have is this bias in perception that there's this huge gap that anytime the gap is shrinking more than what we expect, we overcompensate it. You know what it's like? I don't know if do you watch the NFL, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I do watch the NFL.
Well, who's the best team in the NFL?
The Chiefs.
Then how come they've only got like 2 Pro Bowlers?
Because there's so many great players all over the NFL.
Well, no, it's because people are bored with the Chiefs. They're legitimately like, oh, we know the Chiefs are good.
Yeah.
So everybody just knows the SEC is better than everybody else. So anytime somebody else does something really good, everyone's like, oh my gosh, Michigan football is actually good with Sharon Moore. We need to prop them up. And that's what it is.
It is fatigue. It's fatigue, but also it is because the SEC, I mean, was so ridiculously good for so long. Like they had such a big gap over every other conference that, I mean, no one could even deny it. Now there's an argument to be made, even if because I don't know if you heard me the other night, but I was talking with Will last night on our live stream, and I said to Will that the SEC is still the best conference right now, and even this season I would say that they're maybe slightly better, but the thing is that the gap is closed a decent amount, and that's why you're seeing the narrative that the Big Ten is better. And the reason people are so excited is because it's different, right? People are sick of the SEC, like you said, it's fatigue. And because of the fact the Big Ten's got so much money and they're using it, they're just getting a little bit better. They're getting to that point where people can at least make a case. Like if you had said this 3 years ago, oh, the Big Ten's better than the SEC, then people would just laugh that person out of the building. But now you say it, and it's not as ridiculous. That's the thing. I mean, we're at a point in society where if you say something that's not just completely brain dead, people aren't going to make fun of you for it because people say so many stupid things all the time that something less stupid doesn't seem unreasonable.
Right. You mean to give a specific name? We can talk about Moose in the comments section, saying how the 9-3 Alabama and 7-5 Michigan, Alabama should win, as if overall record has anything to do with it when comparing conferences. Come on,
Michigan was probably the best 7-5 team in college football.
Well,
I mean, they had so much talent, just no quarterback.
Well, Darrell, I want to ask you. So, the narrative that the Big Ten is better than the SEC this year. Does Illinois beating South Carolina in the Citrus Bowl help the Big Ten's case, or was that like a one-off game from South Carolina?
I'm glad you brought this up because this actually strengthens the SEC argument. I know everybody's minds just exploded, but let me explain. What is Illinois ranked in the Big Ten? 5th? The 5th or 4th best team, depending on where you put Indiana. What is South Carolina? The 7th or 8th best team in the SEC. So if the 8th best team or 7th best team plays the 5th best team or the 4th best team in a different conference, shouldn't that team win? Shouldn't they? That's what Illinois, South Carolina is. And honestly,
it was a 50-50 game for the most part. I think South Carolina was like barely favored, but I mean it was pretty close. I mean,
right.
See, again, the thing is though, like the Alabama Michigan game and the Illinois South Carolina game are not needle mover games.
Well, it's not only that, Jeff.
They're not massively big needle movers. They were just like pretty much 50-50 games. The Bama one's a little bit more Bama's way. Like that Michigan winning was a little more shocking, but I don't think anybody's like shocked Illinois beat South Carolina. South Carolina is not Alabama. They're not even like Ole Miss when it comes to talent. It's just not the case.
Jeffrey, I'm so glad. I think Vegas has a large perception built into it because South Carolina was favored by 7 points. So they're like,
Okay,
oh my
that's
God,
dumb.
this is a massive upset. If you just look at it, act like you had Team A fighting Team B. If you just did it that way, obviously the big team should have won. Sean says he wants to join this conversation. Would you all mind inviting him? Because I'd like to talk to a Big Ten fan that's actually not scared.
Well, we're not going to turn this into a 40-minute conversation because we need to get to other callers.
Unless there's no other callers, Jackson, we'll let him go for 40-something minutes. But if we get more callers, then we'll see.
What up, Sean?
How's it going, guys?
How are you doing today?
Oh, in spite of the entire shit show that this year has been so far, with just a couple terrorist attacks to start the world off, and now Southern California apparently experiencing the apocalypse.
Well, have you seen that big snowstorm that hit the middle?
Yeah, the big.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing about this whole thing. I mean, my family is kind of in the middle of it there in Southern Ohio. And
Sean, I'm glad you're bringing this up.
I was teasing. Go ahead, Jacqueline.
I'm glad you're bringing this up because we want to dedicate tonight's show to everyone that's affected by the snowstorms and affected by the wildfires in California tonight, because there have been plenty of people that have been evacuated from their homes. And we pray for their safety, and we pray that everyone around them is safe. And a moment of silence for everyone all involved. Oh.
Yeah, it's rough, man. It is just disastrous stuff going on. I can't imagine seeing a big fire just coming your way, man. That's just scary. I'll take my 30-degree weather right now any day. Just normal weather. I don't like 30-degree weather, but I'll take that, man. I really would, because that's terrible. I hate it.
And we do have a number of people in the living in Southern Cal that are part of this community, and we definitely hope and pray for their safety first, and then after that, hopefully any damage that is done to their livelihood is mitigated as well. But yeah, I mean, it's I had to stop watching today. It was just, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, it's crazy, Sean. The fire's apparently now headed toward the Hollywood sign, which would be something if the sign burned down. I don't know if it can burn down, but that's.
I think
everything can burn.
I think for a lot of people, Hollywood burned down a long time ago, but definitely don't want it to actually burn down, though. Do not want it.
But
yeah. No, but about the snowstorms, yeah, like I tease like my family member, but they don't know what like real snowstorms are. And God, up here, it's like up here, I mean, weather's perfectly mild. It's like 20-something, low 20s or something, kind of cold, but nothing crazy. And man, like places in the country that aren't used to getting destroyed like this are just getting pummeled. So.
Yeah, I've definitely been praying for everybody that's in the path of the garbage weather and fires for the last couple of days. It's terrible. I can't stand stuff like that. I mean, the thing is, California, it's just, they have fires all the time because of the fact it doesn't rain there enough. But it's like, this is just the most bizarre time of year for that to happen. I mean,
it's supposed to. It normally happens like October-ish, kind of.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be their wet season, but
it's just not raining.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this is getting me a little bit depressed, so I want to.
Yeah, I'm depressed too. Like, I want to talk about football.
But back to the SEC Big Ten discussion.
Yes,
this will happen till the end of time. The SEC Big Ten discussion is never going to stop.
So much later that the old narrator quit, so they had to hire a new one.
So, Sean, why were you wanting to join this conversation and provide us with the incorrect opinion today?
Okay. Can you just eat the L 1 year? The SEC, the SEC is clearly the best conference, probably somewhere around 80% of the time. This is a little bit of a dip year for them. The top teams aren't quite as good. You had two teams that were favored by 2 touchdowns faceplant in the bowl games. Here.
Which were those that were favored by
Alabama, South Carolina.
Oh,
They're both favored.
They were favored by a touchdown, not 2 touchdowns.
Oh, Alabama was favored by like 17.
Yeah, South Carolina was only favored by 7, though.
I'm pretty sure they were like around whatever it was. They were that was an expected win for them, and probably a lot of that was just due to some bias that the SEC was stronger
South
this year.
Carolina also ended the season very strong too. Like they were playing great football down the stretch and knocked off Clemson and should have beat Alabama. That the fact they didn't win. I mean, I'm still shocked they fell short. Should have beat
and the presumption too was Illinois was a bit of a fraud as well, right?
Yeah, Illinois kind of was, and I don't really think that win over South Carolina really changes that much. South Carolina sucked in that game. I know that doesn't change if Illinois won, but Illinois wasn't that great this year. They were not that great. I mean, everybody was trying to say Illinois was better than Indiana. I don't agree with that. I do not agree.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either.
No, I mean, they definitely didn't have a better season. So
Sean, if you didn't know the Vegas results, let's just say Vegas didn't exist. They were just a desert. And I just told you the 5th best team in the Big Ten beat the 8th or 7th best team in the SEC. Why would anybody use that as data to say, oh my goodness?
How was South Carolina the 7th or 8th?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because I did my research before this. So let's go through the SEC standings and let's see which teams are unequivocally better than South Carolina right now. Okay. Unquestionably. Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU. Those are all teams that are.
How's LSU unequivocally better?
They played a game and LSU won.
With they were the beneficiaries of some pretty garbage officiating.
We play to win the game.
Right?
Yeah. That's why we play the games to win it, and LSU won the game. That's all I need to see. They play to win the game. I don't care what some referee may or may not have happened. I'm sure it was a bad call, but you know what South Carolina didn't do earlier in the game? Be up by more and to avoid a disastrous call from affecting the outcome of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, could you say the same thing about the bowl games though? Yeah, I mean,
Sean, you have to comment right here, and I know you're a Big Ten guy, but you know this is baloney.
Oh
Michigan just destroyed Bama. Like, did anybody watch that game? Bama literally was driving and could have won, but didn't because Milroe just sucked. Right? Like, okay.
I mean, the only reason
destroy Bama.
Well, the reason Michigan won was because Bama basically spotted them. They turned the ball over 4 times in the first quarter.
Michigan
first quarter 4 turnovers.
Alabama outgained Michigan by over 100 yards. Like you said, Alabama gifted Michigan the win by all those turnovers. Now a lot of them were unforced. That pick was unforced. It was an unforced pick. It was just a stupid throw. But my thing is, how did Michigan destroy Bama? How do we get to the point where a win over a team by 6 points that they shouldn't have won?
I thought going for that 4th down early in the game was dumb. You're playing against a team that has a terrible offense. Why are you going to give them a short field?
Pin them and get the ball good. I mean, Michigan did nothing. I mean, don't get me wrong. Kudos to Michigan for winning the game. Congratulations to Michigan for winning the game. But Alabama
missing all their star players.
Michigan did not do anything on offense. They didn't move the ball at all.
Well,
so that's just not a good comment there.
Yeah, I mean, like Jordan Marshall in their running game was impressive in spurts. In that game, Jordan Marshall looks like a pretty good back.
But I mean, still, Bama outgained Michigan by a lot.
Oh yeah.
I know Moose is telling me to stop, but I'm not saying Michigan's not good. I've been defending Michigan all year. I remember I had a conversation with somebody, and they said Illinois was way better than Michigan. No, based off talent, Michigan was way better than Illinois. Michigan was a top 25 team that just needed a quarterback. What I'm saying is that Alabama fundamentally in the Oklahoma game and in the Michigan game sucked. Absolutely sucked. That's what I'm saying. And what I am saying is that if Alabama does not turn the football over, Alabama beats Michigan by 10.
Right.
They don't have to do anything else. They just have to not turn the football over. Because you know how many points Michigan would have had in the game? About 3. That's how many points Michigan would in the game.
I was going to say, Michigan beat Ohio State and Alabama. Both those games, the offense was responsible for 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it was special teams. And
I wasn't even talking about this right now, but the comment said that Michigan destroyed Bama. That's just dumb.
Yeah, that's obviously inaccurate.
I know they were probably being hilarious typing it or just
just facetious. Yeah, this community is known to troll every now and again, right?
I mean, I'm fine with it. I like the trolling, but it's like at least put like a laughing emoji after it. Like you don't even put nothing. So like you're just trying to be serious, right? Like it is shoulda, coulda, woulda. Alabama sucked this season. Alabama should have been an 11-win team, but they were not because of the fact that they had turnovers. The Oklahoma Michigan games, turnovers. I mean, even the Auburn game, Bama won, but Alabama just turned it over 3 times in that game. Milroe was a turnover machine late in the season for no reason. A lot of it was unforced. It just was. So all they had to do was not turn the football over, and Alabama would have been in the college football playoff. I mean, that's just the way that it is. They lost to Michigan because of the fact Milroe was garbage, and it's sad. But like I said, congrats to Michigan, but I don't think Michigan beating Alabama and Illinois beating South Carolina moves the needle for the Big Ten being better. I think the reason people are saying the Big Ten is better is because at the top you've got Ohio State and Penn State still alive for the national championship, whereas all the SEC has left is Texas. That's the argument you could use for the Big Ten, not these stupid bowl games.
Hey, Jeffrey, I got a quick question. Which conference has done more in the playoff in terms of beating the other? Is it the SEC or Big Ten? Because
if you're going,
if you want to talk long term, no one's arguing that point though. If you want to talk like over the course of time, and
no, I'm talking this 2024, the SEC was better than the Big Ten. Period. End of statement. Look at the playoff results. Look at what is the Big Ten
playoff results. Ohio State murdered an SEC. So you had basically the 2 third-place teams in the Big Ten and SEC. No, this is unequivocal. You had actually Ohio State finished 4th. By your logic here, Ohio State finished 4th in the Big Ten this year. They played the 3rd-place team in the SEC and slaughtered them.
I agree that that's probably the best win the Big Ten has. But hold on, Ohio State is not the 4th best team in the Big Ten. We all know
No, of course not.
The best team in the Big Ten, and because they beat Indiana, they beat Penn State, and they beat Oregon by a bajillion points in a neutral site game, and only lost to them by 1. The only reason they're 6-2 in conference play is because they had a much more difficult schedule than the others.
7-2. We're not pussies in the Big Ten. We play 9 conference games.
Oh yeah, Alabama played Wisconsin. Does that count as their 9th conference game? And how'd that game turn out for them, by the way?
I love this right here from Michigan Moose saying Michigan should have beat TCU. Jeffrey, how many pick sixes did McCarthy have? I'm not saying anything about Alabama, okay? I know they lost. What I'm saying is they did not get destroyed. Just like Michigan did not get destroyed by TCU. Michigan blew the game. There's such a phrase as you blew the game. That kind of happens, right? That you blew the game. How many games have we seen where a team should have won and did not win? It happens all the time. It happens every week.
And on that Michigan TCU note, almost everyone left that game still thinking Michigan was a better team than TCU.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey,
I left that game thinking Alabama's a better team than Michigan. I still believe that.
Georgia should have lost.
No, I mean, it's all opinion.
Georgia should have lost to Kentucky and Georgia Tech and Texas. I mean, so but they didn't. They won, so it doesn't matter. But like Kentucky beats Georgia, what people are going to say, oh, well, the SEC's tough. Because that's what I heard from Lane Kiffin. Well, the SEC's tough, so even though we lost to Kentucky, it's no big deal because, you know, it's a tough conference and everybody has a bad game and we still should have been in and did it. Okay, so, yeah, it doesn't really matter. These people are insane.
Nobody
you don't
should be
deserve to get in
playing.
if you have 3 losses.
Hold
They're
on,
going to
hold
end
on.
up
Well, that's-
expanding the playoff to 16. So it's like you're going to get in Lane Kiffin next time, you know?
If we had accurate seeding, Ole Miss, probably Alabama, and South Carolina probably all should have been in the playoffs if we're being objective.
If you're going off talent, then yes, but they didn't deserve to get in. That's the problem.
You're going off talent. Miami should be on.
Yes, exactly. Miami should be in. I agree with that.
But they didn't because they blew it. They lost. They
They lost
choked.
2 games. Hey, Jeffrey, I don't care. Alabama lost 2 games. They're better than Arizona State.
They are better, but it doesn't mean that because if that's the case, then you should automatically just gift the top 12 most talented teams and already give them the playoff spot.
We have to use a combination of deserving and earning in this formula. Okay?
Well, Indiana deserved.
Yes,
they
that's
deserve.
why I have them in my rankings. I believe they are should be in the 12th seed. That's where I would have them placed. I would have them at 12.
I don't think SMU deserved to get in, but they got in.
I
But
don't
everybody's
have
mad at Indiana.
I don't believe they would have been should have been in. I don't believe Clemson should have been in. I don't believe just because you win your
Clemson
conference.
shouldn't have got in. It's the stupid auto bid crap. That the auto bid system is dumb. The thing is, I've said this a billion times. They want to have the auto bids, and this would have worked in the 80s and 90s when the conferences were more even. It is so unbiased. It is so unfair, and it's so biased with the way that they're wanting to have all the conferences represented. But the conferences are so far apart now with how good they are with the SEC, Big Ten, and then the rest of them. You do not need to gift the ACC title winner a bid automatically, or the Big 12, or even the group of 5 when most years they're not even that good. I saw an Arizona State beat writer say that the Big 12, they needed to eliminate Indiana from the playoff and put BYU in because look how Arizona State played against Texas. Clearly the Big 12 is better. Okay. No. You're losing it, man. You're losing it. That's called bias right there. You talk about my bias about Alabama. Like I'm with you, Drew. Alabama's a good team that choked. You don't put BYU in because Arizona State was competitive with Texas.
I think BYU has an argument. They beat SMU, and SMU ran the rest of a crap schedule. Why was SMU ahead of BYU? Because they won one more game?
Yeah, and that's my issue with this is we're in this age of college football where I don't care how many games you win. I don't care because if you beat 11 cream puffs, that is not as impressive as a team that beats, let's say a team beat Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, but lost to Vanderbilt, Michigan State, and South Carolina. I value the upside, I guess, way more than the average person because I believe that 9-3 team could win the national championship as compared to the 11-1 team that beat on cupcakes. And that's where the difference is between me and most college football fans, I believe. And next year, if the Big Ten gets in this position and Michigan goes 9-3, but they beat Ohio State and Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's good, and they have, has their tires blown out against somebody terrible, I'll be arguing for Michigan to be in the playoffs. Same with USC.
Well, and as Breakaway 34 says, join the conversation. Don't be shy. The call-in link is right here in the chat, and it's in the description section.
Steve says, "I just tune in every week for a Jeffrey rant." I mean, hey, I'm just passionate, man.
That was a good rant, Jeffrey. I was a bit worried Sean was going to cut you off like 3/4 of your way there. You were cooking good.
Thanks.
No. I stay out of that fire right there. Oh, that was heat.
Hey, I heard, by the way, the ACC is just this terrible, abominable conference that's basically like the American Conference. If they're so bad, how come the Big Ten lost to one of them in their bowl game?
Oh, and the Sun Bowl with Louisville, Washington.
Did anybody notice, though, that other than that game, though, the ACC was hot trash?
2-11.
The ACC is no argument. Argument. They're horrible.
2-11.
By the way, Louisville was 8-4. Washington was 6-6. So yeah, I mean, come on.
And by the way, Syracuse beat basically Washington State's JV squad when they played them.
Washington State's team. They had no players. They should have done what Marshall did and just eliminated themselves. No, I mean, I know where you're going, Darrell, but no, ACC's trash.
That's funny.
They are. Oh, by the way, Washington State, another
I
team.
am over 18. I'm over 18. I am over 18. We got this, right?
He's about to be the legal drinking age.
I mean, come on, man. I love it, but it's just killing me.
I mean, Sean's like 40.
Yeah,
What?
we're all
dude, I am like
50?
a full Olympiad away from 40. Yeah,
I know.
we're
I'm
all
just
past
messing
our
with you,
coming of
man.
age. Like, we're done.
Yeah, I'm a few years away from being 30. So
Do not rush it, Jackson. Don't rush it. Michigan Moose says Big Ten is 4-1 versus SEC.
Oh, by the way, that's not.
there's
Hey,
your
I mean,
argument right there.
we can admit the SEC is a stronger conference in general, but they're not necessarily going to be the very best conference, and it's not going to be indisputable every year.
Yeah,
This
that's
year's
right.
it's not indisputable.
It's unfortunate this is the year they're better.
but honestly, because like
Sean
Well,
just got completely.
They get to just claim they're better.
No, the results on the field showed that they were better because the Big Ten went out here losing to Big 12 and ACC teams and the non-conference schedule. My goodness, you know how bad you got to be lose to the ACC this year? Oh my goodness! And nobody remembers that North Carolina, Minnesota, or North Carolina,
I
Minnesota.
remember it is from week 1 on Fox.
That game was hot trash, man.
Yeah, I mean,
North Carolina was one of the worst bowl teams, man. I mean, they lost to UConn. I mean, I'm dying here, man. I can't even defend that. I cannot even defend that.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember watching North Carolina, Minnesota, North Dakota State barely losing to Colorado week 1, and the 24-hour live show on The Voice of College Football, and
Does anybody remember when Colorado got murdered by Nebraska? Does anybody remember that?
I do. It was on
That's 28-0 at halftime.
Yeah, but then by the end of the year, the teams were reversed. Colorado got better, and then Nebraska became trash again, but somehow made a bowl game this year. They found a way to win that one more game this time.
Yeah, and Jeffrey, that's the best win the Big Ten has this year in terms of the seeding difference is Nebraska over Colorado. Nebraska's like 12 and Colorado's 4th. That's the largest disparity.
Oh, man.
For the SEC, by the way, it's South Carolina over Clemson, which is 7 or 8 versus 1.
See, I don't look at that, though, because, I mean, South Carolina and Clemson are very comparable teams. I mean, there's some people that argue South Carolina was better.
That shows the dominance of the SEC that you could say they're very comparable.
It shows the ACC's trash.
Huh?
It shows the ACC's trash, though.
Right, but what does the SEC
mid.
do when they face when you have at some point such a large disparity? Even if they're not a Power 4 conference, and they shouldn't just be qualified that, but there should be some level of your average team win and beat a different conference's best team. I mean, that should factor into it somewhat.
Well, Ohio State pointed out here that USC was 13th in the Big
That's
Ten.
right.
Texas A&M.
And LSU. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Totally forgot.
They were 9th.
Our USC guy was
USC was 6-6 this year, right?
Yeah. They finished 7-6.
7-6.
Hold on.
Against an A&M team that was 1 win away from being in the conference title game.
Time out. Where's this guy getting it? Because I just checked, and at worst, they're the 10th, 11th best team in the Big Ten. At worst, they're 11th. They're 9th. And Texas A&M is 7 or 8th. See, that's another one. Because Texas A&M lost to South Carolina, there's a round robin effect.
A&M blowing it to Auburn ruined their season.
Oh my God!
But that's another one where we look at it and say, "Oh my gosh, USC beat Texas A&M."
It's like that other year they blew it to LSU in the final week of the season. That's A&M's MO, is just blowing it late in the season.
They still got that Jimbo Fisher gene in them. It's gonna take.
Yeah, Elko's trying to get it out like Matt Rule is, but Matt Rule's finding it tougher, man.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
That chemo treatment takes a little while, right? You take 3 steps forward, you take one
Scott
step back.
Frost is back for the attack at UCF, so we'll see what he does. Can he get him back to a national championship, as they call
it's
it?
not exactly
2017?
going. I don't think it's going to be exactly like where Rich Rod's taking West Virginia. I mean, it's not every day when you got Pat McAfee wanting to throw money at you.
Chris Camp says the balance will inevitably happen. Just enjoy your rare wins, Big Ten.
That is my point here. I think the SEC is a stronger conference. Who knows what will happen in the future? But the SEC fundamentally, through the balance of their programs, historically, and the resources they have access to, the players that are down there, they should be better. They should be in the better conference.
Yeah, you're right. You know what it is?
But that's just not going to be true 100% of the time.
I agree, Sean. The SEC should be better, and they're still better than everyone else. That tells you the gap between the SEC and
gentlemen.
They should be better, and yet they're still better than you.
Gentlemen, you want to know what I think's going to happen if we see the Big Ten win more of these big games in the postseason throughout like the next 3-4 years? I think what's going to happen is if we see the Big Ten defeating the SEC throughout the next 3-4 years throughout the postseason, I think you're going to see the SEC try to poach the ACC to get the 20 teams.
My thing is,
I thought you were gonna say that every program is gonna try to find a little sugar mama to throw at any tech bro with billions of dollars.
Well, that's probably the more likely one, Sean. But I mean, the thing is, though, to me, though, I don't care about the bowl results. What's really hurting the SEC to me in these bowl games, though, and with really all these bowl games, is opt-outs are such a problem still. Mm-hmm. You have so many teams, you lose so many players. Like, that's what made Alabama losing to Michigan more pathetic. That's why Alabama was really bad, because Alabama had most of their team.
Bama had 3. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just say Bama had 3 just like inexcusable losses this year. Yeah. Just can't.
They were one of the 12 best teams, but they had 3 games where they didn't even look like a bowl team. They were that bad, especially the Oklahoma game. But my point is, though, is that there's so many opt-outs. These bowl games are not even like, do they really matter in determining who's better? Do they really matter? I don't think that they do. I think that bowl games should not determine who's the better conference. I feel like what should matter more is how many good teams you have from the top of your league to the bottom, and the way that they play throughout the year and how they perform in the playoffs. And to Darrell's point, the SEC has absolutely dominated in the playoffs throughout the last 10 years. To Sean's point, the Big Ten has a case this year to be the better league this year. He's not saying they're the better league. This year they have a case. I'm not saying they're better, but they have a case because they had some really good teams at the top, and the SEC was down this year overall.
Yeah, I mean, this year it's not like I can just point and laugh and know they're trolling like they did last year in 2022, where people like David Greenshield and Mike Fort were going on Mark's show trying to argue that the SEC wasn't better than the Big Ten, despite beating the Big 12 champ, the ACC champ, and beating Ohio State, Kansas State, or TCU, just all these teams. This year I actually had to do some research and put some thought into it, but after doing it, it's pretty clear the SEC is number one. I mean, if the Big Ten wants to be number one, you know what you need to do? Not have Michigan State lose to Boston College. You can't have those type of results because the SEC just doesn't have those results. Every time the SEC, or most of the time the SEC loses, it's teams that should lose, which are worse teams in the conference losing teams higher up.
I still can't believe Vandy lost to Georgia State, though, and beat Bama in the same season.
That is crazy.
That's like Purdue losing to Eastern Michigan and beating Ohio State in the same season.
In 2018.
Jeffrey, whose side are you on? Feel free. I'm not on anybody's side, theoretically. I like a team from the SEC and a team from the Big Ten. What I'm saying is that the SEC is the better league, but that this year it is competitive. That's what I'm saying.
Which one's better this year? If you had to
pick, I think the SEC was slightly better top to bottom, but the Big Ten at the top has proven to be better with Penn State and
Yeah,
Ohio
if you
State
wanna
advancing,
say-
and the SEC hasn't. But I think across the whole leagues, top to bottom, I think the SEC was still slightly better.
Yeah, if you want to just take
Mhm.
out every team and say Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State are better than Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss.
Yeah,
or
you can
Tennessee.
actually make a case for that this season. But this season, because Georgia was way down. Georgia
Right.
was way down. I don't care what anybody says. That was a significantly worse football team this
You
year.
look back at their games.
I do wonder about the future of the Georgia program right
Dude,
now.
it's going down. I hope it
All
just tanks, man. They deserve to tank. That's a dirty program. Very dirty.
Right now, Georgia is looking like the definition of a Martin Scorsese movie. They're on the highest of highs, and then they go the lowest of lows.
It's literally the Roman Empire, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
You're
is
at the late stages of the Roman Empire.
And you're going to watch the NFL draft this year, and you're going to see guys like Malachi Starks, Jalen Walker, and Mikel, whatever. I can't remember his last name. I mean, you're going to see a whole bunch of these guys be taken in first and second round this year, and you're going like, how were they this average this year? How did they almost lose to Kentucky and Georgia Tech?
That Kentucky game was one of the most pathetic football games that I've ever seen in my life.
And they almost
The Alabama one was worse, but Georgia, I mean, for a winning team, that was one of the worst performances for a winning team this entire season.
Right. Yeah, and I said, I said like that game was riveting just because of the upset potential. But if it was just sort of like a Thursday night game between two ACC programs, that would have been like impossible to watch that game. Like if you didn't really have that drama.
I mean, Penn State had
Georgia.
the Minnesota game, and Ohio State had the Nebraska game. So every team had a bad game. The reason why I've really been clowning on Georgia, though, is because they had multiple bad games. Well, for the first time in forever for Kirby. It's been since the first season when he took over. I mean, he's been running a team with so much talent. Despite all the off the field stuff, that they've just been winning despite of it and doing a great job of it. This year they show cracks, big cracks. And I don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know why, but I was so oddly confident Notre Dame was going to win that game.
We all were. I picked them, Notre Dame.
Yeah, like I was just like, you know what? Like Notre Dame is so much more of a team than Georgia is. They have so much stronger character. They have so much stronger character.
Georgia's playing right now the way we thought Ohio State might have played after the Michigan game. The way that we were all like Ohio State, the bad air that's going on, they're fragile. They just lost that game. They don't look confident. That's why Georgia, in reality, has been playing lately. Whereas Ohio State actually took that loss and just ran with it. Now they're on fire. The problem with Georgia is all the off the field stuff. It's caught up with them. Like it's I mean, you saw it this season, like Kirby getting into it with tons of people, pushing people. Like it's boiled over. And they had more penalties than they've ever had. Like they were just undisciplined on the field, something you never saw before. And that's why next season is going to be interesting to see if they can reverse some of that, get back to Georgia from the previous years. But I don't know. I honestly don't know.
They also had feet for hands, their wide receivers, which I feel like they need surgery for that.
Sorry,
Luke is asking anyone know how Kentucky did their bowl game? Well, they didn't.
I replied in the comments to that.
Oh, he's being sarcastic.
I told him we're on the FSU plan.
Moose, that was
always assume Moose is trolling.
That's
whatever. If Moose is ever asking a question, never assume he's being
just
sincere.
remind him that he's a Detroit Lions fan.
Well,
so
Kentucky
he
lost 38-35 in 2023 against Clemson in the Gator Bowl on ESPN.
I just
Moose
like
says,
that.
how did Michigan make a bowl and they were supposed to be in a rebuilding year, but Kentucky managed to fail? See, another sarcastic question. You gotta love Moose.
We love it.
Hey, Jeffrey,
He's awesome.
When the Detroit Lions lose this year, because they're the Detroit Lions, they're going to lose at some point. I mean, they're the Lions. That's what they're the Cubs of the NFL. How do you think Moose is going to react to it?
The Cubs won. The Cubs won in 2016.
Yeah, but they had a 100-year stretch of in between.
But the Lions,
the Lions have had like a 67-year stretch. No,
so we only got 40 more years to go, Sean. Is that what you're telling me?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Let's all eat our vegetables and take our vitamins and get our exercise in so we can live to see the Lions win it
Gentlemen,
all.
the Detroit Lions are not only one of 12 teams in the NFL to have never won a Super Bowl, but they are one of 4 active NFL franchises that have never played in the Super Bowl. The other 3 teams that have never played in a Super Bowl are
The Browns, the Jaguars, and Texans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Panthers. We've been twice. We've been twice.
And
blew it
Sean,
twice.
when's the last time? Sean, when's the last time the Browns played in the NFL championship?
It would have been in the 60s. It would have been just shortly before the Super Bowl era during the Jim Brown.
Well, they actually, well,
was it 66, 65?
Well, the last time they won the NFL title was in 1964. We were just getting color TV at that time.
Yep.
So wait a minute.
And the Lions until last year. This is the most insane statistic I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, you know it's old when you're talking about colored TVs right now. Now we got the TVs, right?
In the Super Bowl era before last year, the Lions had won 1 playoff game in their entire.
The Lions had an embarrassing stretch of suckage. I mean, they were bad for a long time. I mean, Barry Sanders had no support at all. I mean, that dude was incredible, and he had absolutely no support. But I mean, hey, credit to Dan Campbell. The trade to get Jared Goff and the draft picks, man. They've hit on the draft picks. They're legit. I mean, they are a legit team. They're fantastic, fun to watch. We'll see. I mean, they do have a chance to win it all.
And in all the time,
they're probably my pick to win right now.
Hold on, whoa. Hold on, Sean. I just got to ask you all. So your teams don't make the Super Bowl every year. Like, this isn't something you just expect to go to, and it's just not happens.
But no. And you know what? The last time my team went to the Super Bowl, we beat some trash heap from Missouri in the AFC title game to get there. So it doesn't really.
I'll just cry my 3 Super Bowls, Sean. I'll just cry my 3. Make it 4 Super Bowls because we all kind of know Kansas City's going to win it this year. I mean, you know. Hey, you know what the best way to eliminate some team from the playoffs is you don't even beat them in a head-to-head game. You just sit all your players and watch them suffer, and they hope, like, oh my gosh, please, team that we hate, win this game. And they just give them no hope from
the game.
No, that was pure collusion, and the NFL needs to investigate that. The Chiefs intentionally lost that game.
Oh, they did. I mean, I watched that game, and I felt bad for Burrow. I felt bad for the Bengals. I mean, they did not show up to play. They let the Broncos just kill them.
Don't feel bad for them. This was the first half of the season was inexcusable.
Who did you lose to in the first half of the season, by the way?
Oh, freaking everybody! We lost to the Patriots week 1,
and then week 2,
10-6.
Burrow deserved to make the playoffs. He was great. He
deserves to win. He deserves to be in the MVP conversation. This is an all-time great MVP race because
I'm going to be honest.
Lamar, Josh Allen, and Burrow all had like historically great seasons.
Was incredible.
As long as the Bengals have Zach Taylor as head coach, you're not going to see Joe Burrow have a Super Bowl. I think if
we were like a half a second away. If Aaron Donald doesn't get to Burrow hits a chase for a 50-yard touchdown.
Does anybody remember the 49ers last year? How they actually should have beat the Chiefs? I mean, teams can get really close to winning, and then they don't, and then they fall apart after that. The 49ers were trash this year. But they should have won last year. I mean, the Chiefs won because on that punt or whatever, the ball tipped the Niners player, and then the Chiefs got it right there, and then they regained control of the game. That would not happen again in 100 games.
It's called making a great play on special teams, Jeffrey. I can't help it. We got the best quarterback of all time, the best head coach.
You know that was lucky, man. You know that was lucky. The Niners should have won.
And they had a chance, and they blew it. Okay, listen, I can't.
That's what I'm saying. You blew the 49ers. You blew the game. They blew it.
No, Jeffrey.
Just like the Bengals blew it, to Sean's point. They should have had a Super Bowl, but they blew it. Remember Cam Newton? Well, they probably wouldn't have won anyway, but he blew it when he didn't fall on the ball. I mean, it's stuff.
That's not even close to this. The Broncos got the Panthers got absolutely run out that game.
That's why I said it's not the same thing. No. Let's throw it in there. I'm being funny. But, I mean, the
was pathetic,
the Niners should have won. I mean, they really should have.
That was one of the most diva moments in the history of football I've ever seen.
Dude, Cam Newton's entire career, all the backflips and somersaults and abuse he took, and like the one time he doesn't fall on the ball, and the biggest game is like, dude's trash.
You know what that kind of reminds me of? Jameis at Florida State in that game against Oregon. Like, that's the play that he's remembered for.
Yeah.
It's him pump faking and dropping the ball in Oregon.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like Tony Romo with the field goal when he was the holder and he scrambled for it because he botched this thing. It's like, that's why you should never have the starting quarterback be the holder, man. Just don't do it. Never.
That was really early in his career, though. He had a lot of time to atone for that.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of did, but he kind of didn't either, man.
Well, on the bright side, he's on NFL on CBS. So
and I don't care what anyone says. He's an outstanding color analyst.
I agree.
Well, I mean, we're starting to get to a point where there's not really that many good ones anymore. So that's why Romo is just fantastic, right? In a lot of people's opinion, because I mean, commentating's gone down. It's gotten way too media obsessed with like craze. Like you gotta heighten things. I'll never forget what, like 2 years ago or whatever, when I was watching a college football game on TV and they were like talking about the Dak Cooper Rush debate. I'm like, what is going on here? I'm watching this college football game and yet they're talking about Dak and Cooper Rush. And I'm like, it's no debate. Dak might be mid, but Cooper Rush, he's not even close to taking the job from him.
Hey, don't speak ill of Cooper Rush. He grew up about like 40 minutes from me. So
hey, I mean, he's not taking over Dak's job. They're gonna have to draft another quarterback.
Hey, Charlotte, Michigan. Not Charlotte, Michigan. Charlotte, Michigan. Stand up.
By the way, we got another tick on the counter of Jeffrey saying mid. So I think we're at 3 today.
Well, we've been live for an hour. It's not too bad. I love this comment from Bean, though. It says Jeremiah Smith would be at Georgia if no NIL and portal. What's your take on that, Darrell?
I can't read. I don't know people's state of mind, so I have no way to determine it. But he's doing pretty good for
because of Georgia's extremely long track record of producing great wide receivers who have good NFL careers, such as
George Pickens.
Maybe.
Jeremiah Smith could go to Kent State and easily take them to like 10 wins. I mean, he's just that good.
Yeah.
Well, Jerry Rice was at Mississippi Valley State. I mean, that stuff used to happen, but that don't happen anymore.
I mean, Jeremiah.
But there are too many. There are too many eyes watching college football. If you can play, you get found out now. It's like, word travels faster now than it did then. I mean, Jerry Rice grew up in the middle of freaking nowhere in Mississippi. So,
trolling of Moose, is that okay?
Moose is saying that Jim Harbaugh was elite. Do people remember when Jim Harbaugh was supposed to be fired because he was trash in the 2020 season and they lost to Indiana?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody remember that? Oh, Harbaugh's done. Harbaugh sucks. He's fired. Well, now he's elite and he's like the greatest coach ever.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Jeff,
no.
I got to ask you, okay?
I lived through that, Jeffrey. I live around these people. I was aware.
Hey, Jeffrey, he's not the best coach in the NFL currently. He's not the best coach in the AFC West. He's not even the best coach with the name Harbaugh. So at what level do we need to go to for him to be a best coach of anything? I mean, he's just if he's not even the best coach with the name Harbaugh.
Even Jerry says Harbaugh.
I don't know about that. He's a fantastic football coach.
Yeah, he's not even close to like Andy Reid, Bill Belichick. and those guys. He's not even close.
Did anybody think that he was going to take the Chargers to the playoffs in year one?
Yes, he had Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
And Keenan Allen.
People said Herbert was trash, and I was like, Herbert's really good. He don't have a team. He doesn't have a coach.
I mean,
Harbaugh Brandon
won.
Staley? You remember? People remember that experiment?
Yeah, he was the guy that would always go
Harbaugh
for him.
won. Like Harbaugh revitalized Alex Smith's career, and he was able to win with Colin Kaepernick 2012, 2013.
He
And
won
he's not-
despite Colin Kaepernick, man.
No.
Exactly.
When Colin Kaepernick came in and filled in for Smith, he was fantastic.
He was good, but he fell.
He got figured out. Oh
He
yeah,
fell apart.
yeah. No. He definitely did. But the year he got them to the Super Bowl, he was really good.
But yeah,
That's
with
not.
Justin Herbert, you're gonna see a lot of magic with Herbert. And if the Chargers don't get a Super Bowl under Harbaugh, it's not Harbaugh's fault or Herbert's fault. It's that idiot Spanos family.
Yeah.
Why is there so many bad owners, man, of the NFL? I mean, like you got so much money. I mean, and these people just buy these teams and they don't know anything about football.
Oh, this
Like,
is a good
I mean, a lot of these a lot of money creates ego.
Hey,
Oh,
Sean,
go ahead.
which NFL team over the last 30 years has the most losses?
The most losses, especially since the Browns were out for like 4 years, I would say it'd probably be the Lions.
Browns are tied for second, which by one game they're not first. Which
How are they tied for second? They literally took 4 or 5 seasons off, and they're still tied for second.
294 losses.
Wow, that's crazy.
First is the Las Vegas Raiders at 295 losses.
What?
Yeah,
They've had. I mean, they haven't been good recently.
Derek Carr for a long time, and they were mid.
But they were good. I mean, they went to a Super Bowl, had a few nice seasons in like the
there's a graphic
early
I saw, I
2000s.
think from CBS Sports. I can look at it, try to find it again, but I don't know if it's one of those things where back in what would it be 95 they were just atrocious.
God, I mean, like they've mostly been quite bad. So yeah,
I found it. Most losses by a franchise over the last 30 years. Raiders are 295, Lions and Browns are 294. CBS Sports posted it a day ago.
Yeah. And the Browns didn't even play in 95, 96, 97.
So
or
realistically,
98.
it should be the Browns. I mean, they are the
Yeah.
losers. They didn't have those seasons. Rough Rider Return says the owners are rich, spoiled children. I mean, the thing is, again, a lot of them just buy these teams and they don't even know anything about the sport. They just buy the team because they have the money. Thing is, though, like Jerry Jones at the Cowboys, where would you guys rank him right now as an owner in the NFL?
I mean, I would have to take a look down the line, but probably not the worst, but he's probably like in that like C or D tier of owners.
He has regressed so hard. He has regressed. I mean, I don't know how anybody can legitimately defend Jerry Jones at this point. He cannot own a team anymore.
No, but I think a lot of the part with this owner debate, and I'm sorry if I cut you off there, Darrell. I thought I was going. But you look at somebody like David Tepper at Carolina. He built just an insane net worth. He's worth almost as much as like the rest of the NFL owners combined, right? Like just so he thinks he's this. I mean, like he had such success in this private equity business. I think he kind of thinks he's hot shit, and he just can figure everything out in a minute. Which is like, I mean, like. I kind of see that with like an Elon Musk or something. It's like, okay, you're really smart in this one area. Like you did this great thing, but like that doesn't mean you understand everything instinctively. You're better than people.
Albert Einstein was a genius, but there was a lot of simple things that he couldn't do.
Oh yeah,
Everybody has strengths. Like all four of us here, I'm sure that we are all really great at something, or like we have like things that we're really good at. But then there's things that we just suck. Like we can't even begin to even attempt to do that thing. And that's the way I am. I mean, there's tons of things I can't do. But
there's so many of them, Jeffrey.
If you are a guy that just knows nothing about football, you're just illiterate to football. You should not be buying a football team. You just should not buy a football team. I don't care that you got the Bucks, man. If you don't have the care and the know-how of the sport, you shouldn't be doing it. Because Tepper's an idiot when it comes to football. I mean, he might be a genius at his equity junk, but he's a moron when it comes to football because he's made so many bad decisions as owner of the Panthers already in his short stint. It makes my head spin. It makes my head reel. It hurts.
And he also like just tries to get involved in every decision.
Yeah,
like
he's involved for a guy that doesn't know anything, and then he just makes a complete what of himself. It's terrible. You remember the drink throwing incident, right? You remember that, right?
Oh God! Like,
I mean, dude, that's just ugly. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it's frustrating because I like the Panthers a lot, but I mean, I just I know Richardson was not great, but he was a lot better than Tepper.
Do you think eventually Jeffrey will get to the point where these college teams are going to be up for sale and there's going to be owners and stuff like that? Because I can see that being a real possibility.
Probably because it's becoming too valuable. It's becoming too valuable. And that's why money ruins stuff, man. The thing is that, again, if you have money, you made money for a reason doing something, okay? Mm-hmm. And you don't need to branch out of that field if you're not capable in that area. That's the thing. Like, if you're gonna buy a team, you need to actually like the sport. You have to like the sport. You have to know the sport. Like if Jackson was worth $15 billion and he wanted to buy the Atlanta Braves, I would support that. Be like, do it, Jackson. Like you like baseball, you like the Atlanta Braves, just do it. Like, go ahead. But no. But
if Jackson bought a cricket team in Mumbai, and now all of a sudden he wanted to have influence on every personnel decision they had, probably a bad idea, right? Probably not good.
No,
that'd be dumb.
That's a good pull.
Bean says, has Jeffrey ever said anything nice about anybody? Yes, I have. Indeed, I have. Dan Campbell's done a fantastic job turning the lines around. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But, so what do you think about like the latest that's going on with Alabama, gents? Like, because like Jeffrey and I talked a little bit about Sheridan and Grub, and Darrell talked a little bit about it as well. Sean, how are you feeling about it?
I mean, Sheridan is still on staff as the OC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I mean, I feel bad sometimes because I hate when players cost coaches their jobs, and I mean, like I've talked about Milroe ad nauseum on this show before. I don't need to belabor any of the points. I just think he's there's a hard ceiling with him as a player, but also Sheridan didn't really. I don't think he had the chops for this job to begin with. It's just like this is a bit of that good old boys network. Deborah and Sheridan probably like each other. And that's what I remember Urban Meyer saying one time. He hesitated to hire Greg Schiano for his staff because they were friends, and he never wanted to hire his friends ever because
people got mad at Andrew Jackson for doing that because literally his entire cabinet
the
was
spoil system. Yep.
I mean, literally that was one of the biggest debates in old American history was good old Andrew Jackson. I remember that. I mean, it's like you can't do that though. You can't. I mean, the thing is that you have DeBoer. He's had previous, time with Grub and Sheridan because Sheridan was at Indiana when DeBoer was at Indiana. So he's had him. And then when Sheridan got fired in Indiana, he went to Washington. Obviously, Grub was at Fresno and Washington. So he knows both. But it's like the thing is Tom Allen did this with Darren Hill or whatever, Indiana's O-line coach that was bad. He was really bad, and that's why Penix almost died multiple times on the football field.
Mm-hmm.
He did not want to fire Darren Hiller, even though he was the worst offensive line coach just ever. He sucked. He was horrible. He recruited all right, but he didn't do anything with them. They were just bad. So Tom Allen did not want to fire him because they were close, and he didn't fire people. That's why Tom Allen's not in Indiana anymore. You can't do that. You just cannot do that because he brought in Bob Bostad, the Wisconsin offensive line guy, to IU his last year, and it got better, but it was too late for Allen. Look at Signetti. Stills kept him on staff. The O-line's way improved for Indiana football. Mm-hmm. If he fires Darren Hiller the previous year, Tom Allen is still at Indiana football right now. That one decision to not fire the O-line coach ruined the entire team because the rest of the team wasn't that bad. It wasn't. It was that offensive line. That offensive line was that bad. But to your point, DeBoer cannot keep Sheridan if it's a friends thing. You just can't do that. You got to let him go if he's underperforming. I felt that he underperformed. But that's what coaches get in trouble with is when they do that. I agree.
And in a way, it's not fair to Sheridan either to just keep him along because then he wears this. He wears this label of just being kind of a nepo baby, and that's how he
over his head.
Yeah, like Brian Ferentz. I know that's absolute nepotism because it was his kid, but Kurt Ferentz should have never kept him that long.
No.
Sean, what's your thoughts about Ryan Grubb potentially being the new offensive coordinator at Alabama?
I mean, I don't know what to think of Ryan Grubb because when I saw him succeed at Washington, he had, what I think is probably going to be an NFL franchise quarterback and a bunch of good NFL receivers. And he went into a defensive light conference. And, those are ideal conditions for you to have really big success.
He had Jay Kaner at Fresno and Michael Penix at Washington.
Right.
But Fresno didn't play anybody. In Washington, it wasn't that bad. And like you said, not a lot of defense.
So I mean, I was surprised to see him get fired. I thought the Seahawks were an average offense this year. I didn't think they were bad. I didn't think, but
Jackson.
He wouldn't make a lot of sense. Like if I was an Alabama fan, I would definitely want to hear the news that they hired Ryan Grubb as an offensive coordinator, because look, you've got Keelan Russell coming in next year, and you've got Ty Simpson probably coming back. I haven't heard that he entered the portal or anything.
He hasn't, so that means to me that Alabama's not really bringing in a portal guy.
I don't think they're going to, and I mean,
I thought they should have, but someone said to me last week or last time I talked about it that then Ty Simpson would leave or whatever, and that's the problem with the modern day college football of guys transferring because I might not start. Like you should want the competition. I think Bama should have brought in a transfer and Ty Simpson fight for the job. I wouldn't start Keelan Russell in his first year. I wouldn't do that.
I think Alabama should do what's best for Alabama, not what's best for Ty Simpson.
No,
Ty
they needed to bring in a transfer.
Could automatically be assumed the starter in one of the 5 best quarterbacks in college football. He hasn't earned that. So, especially after we saw him in that South Florida game where it looked like the team didn't believe in him.
Well, you remember the year before they brought in Buckner ahead of Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, that tells me all I need to know about Ty Simpson. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think he's probably worse than Milroe. And especially
people were telling me all season that Simpson needed to come in for Milroe. And I'm like, no. Milroe's the guy that they're not running the right offense for Milroe. It had nothing to do with that. Ty Simpson, I mean, I can't say legitimately that he's not very good, but he hasn't done anything to show us that he is. So I think Bama needed to bring in a transfer for competition because people are trying to say that Keelan Russell needs to start. I wouldn't do that. I would not throw a guy into the fire in his freshman year. I mean, Tennessee didn't do it.
So
was it people or was it Adam? Was it just Adam Lamparelli? I know he was riding that.
I think there was someone else too, but yeah, I try not to single out people. Yeah.
And Ty Simpson has had 5 snaps in 2022, 20 snaps in 2023. This year he's had 25 snaps. So that makes it 48 total snaps.
That's basically nothing.
Yeah, and I'm sure most of those were just nothing. They're running out the clock.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't he the starter for the USF game, or was it?
No, that was Buckner.
Okay, then they went
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Then they went to Simpson in that game, though. I remember Ty
Mm-hmm.
Simpson playing, and I remember him looking worse than Buckner somehow.
If Jalen Milroe had played in that game would have never been close. People were trying to say South Florida was better than Bama. Bama was better that year than this year. And Bama beat South Florida by more this year.
To me, that Alabama team was sending a clear message to
that South Florida game was pretty close this year, though, until really late.
Until the end, yeah. I mean, I think what Darrell was trying to say that Bama was starting to show cracks with that last season of Saban, that they were getting worse. They were. It was not as good. Kind of like I feel like Georgia's showing cracks this year, because there were cracks. I mean, Alabama, like people were saying, oh well, they made the playoffs. They were worse. They were worse last year than they've been the previous 3 or 4 seasons with Saban. But this year they were way worse than the last year Saban, but still were a top 12 to 15 team. I mean, they haven't fallen off completely, but they are getting worse, and they need to reverse that trend.
Yeah, I just wanted, you guys probably have more of a finger on the pulse of the Alabama fan base than I do. Like, I mean, how much of this just sort of B tier level play will Alabama fans tolerate?
Another year like this next year, and DeBoer's on fire. I mean, it's only year 1, so it's like, well, it's year 1. See what he does. He's recruiting well, which they are. But the problem is you get to the point where you can only just like recruit so well in high school for so long to try to fix your problems. That's why I thought like Napier was done, because of the fact that he was recruiting well, but like young guys aren't going to play that much. You can recruit all you want, but like it takes 3 years for that class to really matter, and sometimes a lot of those guys leave. But Napier got saved by Lagway, and maybe Keelan Russell will save DeBoer this season. I don't know. I just do that, but it could happen.
I saw Keelan Russell recently just overtook Tavian St. Clair for the number 2 spot on the 247 composite rankings.
I mean, it is possible, but I mean, another B tier year, and DeBoer is in a lot of trouble. So maybe Russell will have to, bail him out. I don't know. Because, I mean, Napier's gone if Lagway doesn't play. Napier's done. It doesn't matter. All that recruiting that he did, it didn't mean anything. It meant nothing. If Lagway doesn't come in, if Lagway had have stayed hurt after that Georgia game and Florida goes 4-8, he's gone. He's done. Correct. Lagway saved his job. Billy Napier should send Lagway a Christmas gift, because Lagway saved his job. I mean, that's all there is to it. And I said that actually at the beginning of the season. I said that if DJ Lagway does not come in, Billy Napier is gone, and I was correct. I nailed that completely. And with DeBoer coming in now for Saban, having this not great season for Bama standards, worst seasons loss wise since the 07 year. I don't have a read, because I don't know what Keelan Russell can do. I mean, Lagway was his only hope for Napier, but Alabama had choices. They could have brought in a transfer quarterback. They chose not to. And Simpson, I don't trust. So I don't know. I really don't. And I don't think DeBoer's going to get fired next year unless he goes like 7-5 or worse. So it's just kind of a wait and see mode right now.
Agreed.
Forgive me if I'm wrong. I feel like the transfer portal this year has been so mundane compared to last year.
Yes,
Fernando Mendoza
it felt like there were stars entering every 4 hours, like guys that you're like, oh, we got to have that guy, right? All the time. This year it's just like
Fernando Mendoza was the 3rd ranked quarterback transfer in the portal this year, and Curtis Rourke last year was rated as like the 22nd quarterback. I mean, Curtis Rourke and Fernando Mendoza, how different are they? I don't think they're significantly different.
Curtis Rourke had like 3 really good seasons of college football production before last year. I mean, like that's but I mean, like I haven't heard anyone make note of that. This transfer portal class does not have many huge names, huge gets.
Yeah,
I mean, there were
surprised.
5-star
Looked at
portal
the,
guys
transfer
galore
portal.
last year, and this year, like the higher rated guys are still only like 3-star transfers.
Yeah. Like the guys that are former 5-stars in the portal this year. Ohio State's probably going to get one in a couple of days. They're guys that have kind of underperformed in college.
JoJo Earl and Ajah Hall were both in the portal this year, former 5-star receivers at Bama, and they're gone. I mean, Ajah Hall's going to Sacramento State. I mean, it's a drop off.
Yeah, but you know what? I did hear that coming out of high school, the recruiting battle basically came down to Alabama and Sacramento State for him. So, I mean,
he left Bama because he said the Bama fans were irritating him. They were going off at him. He goes to Texas. He doesn't do anything. And then I forgot where he went. He went to I think it was like UCF or something. I think it was UCF, and now he's going to Sacramento State. It's like, how do you fall that far?
Well, he shouldn't have to worry about any fans. He's got no fans to worry about, Jeffrey. There'll be no pressure for him in Sacramento State. Sean, I was looking at the portal rankings. I was shocked because as a Kentucky fan, I didn't know anybody we got in the portal except some quarterback from like some FCS school, and we're 6th overall. I'm like, how are we 6th?
Indiana's like 15th. Indiana's like 15th in the portal, and they're all 3-star guys.
Yeah. This is like, so it was, I mean, just like everyone, we were talking about the SEC and Big Ten, like, oh, has the Big Ten overtaken the SEC? And it's like, it's 1 year where it's close. Last year, everyone was freaking out about all these players leaving the portal. And it's like, hey, there was massive coaching turnover last year. There was, good reason for a lot of these guys to leave. It's not going to be like this
next year. Next year might be a big coaching boom again. This year, I mean, you only really had like the Belichick thing.
Right.
I mean, you had some coaching moves, but none of them were splashy moves.
No. This is shaping up to be one of the most mundane, mediocre off seasons that we've had in a while. And, I think we're kind of due for it because the last couple have been kind of nuts.
I agree. I'm looking forward to the next season's coaching because I think that's a great comment.
This is what I can't stand as well about college football. This was wrong with the portal NIL. The UCF transfer, whatever, enters the portal, commits to USC. A few days later, takes some money to go to SMU. Then just a few days later, he decides he's staying at UCF after all that. That right there is trash. I like it when guys like Taven Jackson are at Indiana. He's not playing, and he transfers to UCF. Why? Because he's not playing. That's fair.
Listen,
I'm fine with that, but that's ridiculous.
Listen. I do want to caution. I think it's sort of unfair to like criticize individuals. We don't know their situations. Like
I understand. I mean, I get it's reasonable for this person to do that because that's what the system is allowing. I'm just saying the system stinks. That's what I don't like about the system, not the individual.
What about also the Ohio State third string running back entering the portal like 2 days ago? He's a freshman running back, and he says, "Hey, I'm entering the portal."
Sam Dixon Williams, yeah.
He's not going to play in the semifinal games. I'm sorry, but dude, if the playoffs don't mean anything to you, then that just increases the argument that the playoffs are a joke, even if the players.
No. I have to push back on that a little bit too. He has to find a place that he needs to get in for his own future, and maybe to get into school.
The playoffs
in the next couple
are
weeks,
interfering with the academics calendars, making it where players have to transfer before the playoffs are over,
right.
And that's why the playoffs are too long. That's why he should have never made this playoff this long and have it till January 20th when the academic calendar starts on the 6th or 7th or 10th or whatever it is. Players have to transfer to get enrolled to their new school. I mean, they could do it in spring. He could do it in spring. I don't know. They need to make spring portal more popular. Because if that happens, then more of these guys can stay on the team and then transfer into the spring and then do that. But see, they don't do that either because they want to get acclimated with their new team. It's just a mess. It's an absolute mess.
Yeah,
but I agree with the real. It sucks for the sport because guys leaving before the playoffs are done, before the season's over, it's bad. But Sean's right. They have to because of the academic calendar.
Oh, I'm not.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like that's the reality right now. It's most of the players that come in the spring portal. They're kind of they kind of entered that portal for a reason at that point. Like either they lost their starting position, or it's generally a lower grade of player that enter in during that time, or like something severely crazy happened in the program, which normally doesn't happen in February and March.
Right.
What I think should happen, and this is my theory of where college football is going to go, we're basically already at a mini NFL. So why not just make it official and have the NFL subsidize college football, has it as under league, and have their playoff structure just follow the NFL season? So like Thursday, Friday of the wild card round, you get the first round games. The division rounds, you get the second round games before. Do you see where I'm going with that, Sean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
what do you think?
I don't know. I feel like you have to give some breathing room from the end of the season to the start of the playoffs.
Yeah, but what if you just had it to where every Thursday, Friday you had college football, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday you had NFL, and then the Saturday before the Super Bowl you had the national championship game?
I wouldn't be opposed to certainly with those first round games, just moving that to being a Thursday, Friday instead of a Friday, Saturday, like it's been. But Jeffrey was talking about shortening the calendar. So one thing I think is kind of outdated is these. I don't know if we need to play these conference championship games under this current format. So maybe you could move
even play the game.
Nobody cares if you win the game.
But I was saying this year, and this is just because the format was such garbage. But the losers of the conference championship games in the SEC and the Big Ten, which we agree are the two big conferences, were Boise State and Arizona State. The winners of those games, their reward was playing Ohio State and Notre Dame.
Right. It's also, dumb. Let's think about it from a Georgia perspective.
And that's why they had to put SMU in because, you gotta validate losing in the conference championship game. Yeah, they didn't need to be in. Go ahead.
Right, that's something else I want to go off about. But first, let's put ourselves in Georgia's mindset, or any team like Georgia. Why on earth would you ever play your starters in the college football, the SEC championship game again? Because if you're a Georgia player, you're thinking, man, if we had Carson back, we would have beaten Notre Dame and we could have won the national championship. I don't believe that. I believe Notre Dame beats them with or without Carson back. But if I'm a Georgia coach or a Georgia staffer, I'm absolutely telling myself.
But do you think they beat Arizona State or Boise State with Carson back?
Yes.
Yeah, so that would have been the reward for sitting everyone that game.
Right. I think that's what's going to happen. I think the Ohio State-Michigan game, I think it's in real jeopardy the next few years of being completely meaningless because an Ohio State or Michigan coach is going to realize, our goal is to win the national championship. We're going to sit all our starters.
But then that is what I warned a couple of years ago when I kept saying what I kept saying to Mark and other people online, that when they expanded this playoff, you're like, more games are going to matter. More games are going to matter. Well, that might be the case because more games are going to matter for teams getting into the playoff because there's more teams getting into the playoff, but it's going to ruin those individual games that really matter. The conference championship games are dead. They're meaningless now. The Ohio State-Michigan game, it doesn't have the significance that it had that final year when the loser did not make that 14 playoff. It was such a big deal that year. And now you've taken away the importance of those type of games to make more games matter. More teams get in, but you're actually, in essence, making less things matter. You're making less games matter that or you're making the games that matter more matter less, and making games that shouldn't have mattered at all matter a little bit. That's all you're doing.
Okay, and I'll add a point to illuminate that. I watched that SMU Clemson game. I thought that was riveting television. That was a highly dramatic game. I knew Clemson needed to win to get in. I was not sure about SMU. It was a do or die, and it was captivating, thrilling television to watch. Did anyone think for a second that either SMU or Clemson had a shot of winning the national championship?
No,
Yeah.
They had no chance. I mean, Clemson technically had a better chance because they actually had a couple talented players. SMU had no shot. Neither team had a shot.
Right, but Sean, the announcer said something that exposed the entire system. The announcers were like, this proves SMU belongs in the playoff. Losing to a team that's
Right.
15th in the country that wouldn't have made the playoff except for them winning the ACC. No, if anything, it showed they shouldn't belong in the playoffs.
I said that to so many people at the time. Like, okay, so why does beating the 17th? Why does narrowly losing to the 17th best country team in the country prove that you are one of the 12 best teams in the country? Huh?
That's a good problem. I can't have the answer to that one. Maybe Jeffrey or Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, do we have any advanced physicists in the audience here that can decode this?
It's like those professors who say 1 + 1 = 3, and they've got some super complex problem. And you're like, no, man, 1 + 1 =
2 + 2 = 5. It's like, dude, it's 4. I don't care what convoluted scheme you got to make it 5. It's 4, man.
Yeah.
It's 4.
But before we get to I guess our next card, because remember the call-in link is in the chat and it's in the description. Who are your picks for the semifinals, gentlemen?
I've got Notre Dame and Ohio State because we've had no upsets so far, and I believe that trend's going to continue. And I'm just going to use that as another data point of ammo saying these playoffs are a complete failure.
Troy B says, I'm not a physicist, but I watched Big Bang Theory today. Okay. Yeah. That's like saying I'm a race car driver because I watch Herbie the Love Bug. Okay. I don't think that
Leonard.
Oh my!
yeah.
That's so good, Troy. It's good.
No. Troy is he is bangers only. Like his, he only leaves 9s or 10s in the comment section.
Can you explain to me, if everybody talks about these conference championship games not mattering, how come the playoff committee decided to put them in this weird space where Penn State could lose to Oregon by more than Ohio State did, but yet they're ranked above Ohio State? Because that's my big fear for next year, is we're going to have these weird situations where we unequivocally have data that proves one team is better than another, but because they lost in the conference championship game, they're going to be ranked ahead of somebody else. It makes no sense.
Yeah. And the committee got bailed out by Penn State making that game competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, like if Oregon would have beaten them by 30, they would have had like a tough time balancing like a lot of the things they said. Like, we're not going to punish a team for making the conference.
Just like if SMU had lost by 30, they wouldn't have even have gotten in at all. No. But to get back to Penn State, though, Ohio State had whatever you want to call it. They did not have the benefit of having no bad losses. That's what hurt Ohio State. They had the worst loss of between Penn State and Ohio State themselves. Right, Ohio State lost to Michigan. Penn State's losses were to Ohio State and Oregon. That's why I said that Alabama should have been in over Texas last year at 3-4, because Alabama's only loss was to Texas, whereas Texas lost to an inferior Oklahoma team. Nobody listened to me then, but then when it comes to this, the committee does the exact thing that I said they should have done last year, but they didn't do, but they did this year because of the conference championship game. That's how wrong and convoluted they are. They have complicated the system and have messed it up because they cannot feasibly go across the board and make head-to-head matter when you have so many more teams getting into the playoff. You're not looking at one team like Texas, Bama, Florida State. You're looking at seeding all the way from 1 through 12. You're adding more questions. You're adding more problems to the system.
And I'm going to tell you, like, the differences the further you expand it, the differences between the teams on the margins are just going to always be much smaller than they are typically going to be, like, in a smaller field. The differences between teams 4 and 5 generally in a 14 playoff are fairly well defined. There's usually not, if you're getting down to the difference between the 16th and the 17th. The 16th and the 17th teams, like you are really, really picking hairs at that point.
Right,
like,
but this is where if it's so the gap between Ohio State and Penn State to me this year was so obvious that it's inarguable that Ohio State was clearly the better team. And the playoff committee and just the college football ecosystem is like, well, Penn State, they made the conference championship game, therefore they're better. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, you can't be serious. And no offense, Jeffrey, but if Indiana made the conference championship game because Ohio State and Penn State lost, are we going to put Indiana as the 4 seed?
No.
Or as the number 4 team in the country? Really?
No.
Are we going to do that?
I definitely follow you there. I agree. I mean, the problem is that if you don't have conference championship games and Penn State does not play Oregon, Penn State has 1 loss and Ohio State has 2.
Well, that's fine.
And then Penn State would have been ranked ahead of Ohio State by far because Penn State would have had only 1 loss, even though that 1 loss was to Ohio State. The problem that Ohio State had is they lost to Michigan. They lost to Michigan. Who's the better football team? Ohio State. Because their talent's better, they have a better ceiling, they beat Penn State, but they had that loss to Michigan.
Who'd they lose to, Jeffrey?
See, what
wait, they lose that team up north?
Yeah, right? Just say you go the other way with it and just say Ohio State has 1 loss and Penn State has 2. Their other loss was to Minnesota, and Ohio State loses to Oregon again in the Big Ten championship game. You know who's going to – and you reverse the results, right? Well, let's just take that back. Let's just say Ohio State, to make this completely fair and the opposite. Ohio State, they lose to Penn State, but they beat Oregon. They make the Big Ten title game, but they lose in the Big Ten title game to Oregon. So they have 2 losses, and then Penn State has 2 losses. The one other game, and then the Minnesota game. Who's going to be ranked ahead? Even though Ohio State lost to Penn State, Ohio State would be ranked ahead of Penn State because of the fact that they were in the Big Ten title game. It would have worked the same way.
Right.
They put that emphasis on that, but what really killed Ohio State still was the Michigan loss. But they did put the conference championship game higher because they're trying to justify it. Eventually, though, they're not going to be able to, and that's what I agree with.
And it's going to become, more complicated as we go further. These the schedule discrepancies between these teams in the same conferences is enormous now.
Because there's so many teams in these conferences.
Because there's so many teams, yeah. Absolutely. So I mean, like the reason Penn State got into this game, Penn State just didn't have as tough of a conference schedule as Ohio State did.
Same with Indiana. Indiana had an easy schedule. That's why they even made it at all. But to your point, when you have 12 teams in a conference, or 10 teams in a con. 10 is perfect. That's why the Big 12, Mark loved the Big 12. You remember how Mark Rogers talked about the Big 12? When they had 10 teams, he loved the Big 12 because every team played the exact same schedule. So it was completely fair. 110% fair. Now the conferences are so bloated, everybody's playing these different schedules, you can't even make it even. It's not even feasible to make it even. So you went from the problem with the Big Ten West and East being so unbalanced, so the conference is unfair. Now the conference is too large, and all these teams are playing so different schedules in strength that it's just not even fair to quantify in comparison. And having the 60th strength of schedule versus having the 5th ranked strength of schedule in college football has never been more stark. Look at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's schedule was trash, just like Indiana's. No one's saying that because Notre Dame. But if Notre Dame had the 5th ranked schedule in college football, do they go 11-1? No, absolutely not. Indiana wouldn't have gone 11-1. But Indiana had the 62nd ranked schedule, and Notre Dame had the 56th ranked schedule. They were both trash. Just absolutely horrible schedules. To your point, Sean, Ohio State had a tougher Big Ten schedule than Penn State, but you can't make it even. And that is, again, their fault for expanding all this crap. Should have left them with smaller conferences. The schedules were a lot more fair when they were.
Well, my point is, why in this year, when we have the expanded conferences, or now we're creating this new rule that, well, if you make the conference championship game, we're basically not going to penalize you. To me, that's the most idiotic thing you could do, because these data points are the most valid data points we have throughout the entire season.
Yeah.
A lot of the top teams don't play one another.
Yep. So basically, yeah. Teams like, teams that are in the Big Ten or the SEC championship game, they're completely free rolling. Like their seating is already secured. And actually, with the current format, they're incentivized to lose that game.
Right.
It's beyond nuts.
It's bonkers. I mean, that's why Adam was being, again, facetious, like you said earlier, Sean, when he was saying that Florida should have made the college football playoff at 7-5 or whatever. The only reason he was saying that was because based off the schedule that Florida played and how they played down the stretch of the season with Lagway, they looked darn good. They looked really good. I mean, you can make a massive argument that Florida plays Indiana or SMU or even like Clemson, that they're winning that game right now. The way that they were playing down the stretch, they're winning that game. But see, Florida doesn't get in because of the fact their record's bad.
Right,
but
that's
you
my
can't
issue.
even quantify that.
That's my issue with the current playoff structure. Is I don't care what your record is. I'm not you are what your record says you are. So if you're 9-3, heck, even possibly 8-4, and you have played all tough teams, yes, you belong in the playoff. And this idea, well, Alabama lost 25% of the games, that means they're automatically disqualified. You're incentivizing them to only play like terrible teams, like Mississippi State, Kentucky.
You are incentivizing them to play terrible teams because if you do, if Alabama has Indiana's schedule, they go 11-1.
Right, and then they're in the playoffs. So everybody who's saying, well, Alabama lost to Oklahoma, therefore they're out of the playoffs, and just completely ignoring their game that they scheduled against Wisconsin, which is something Indiana didn't do at all. We should at least give them credit for doing it. Or at least, and they also went and beat Georgia. Okay, they beat the number 2 team in the country and completely dominated them for the first half. Nobody brings that up. Only people bring up is the Oklahoma loss and the Vanderbilt loss, as if they're the only 2 data points that exist on earth. And if I was Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, I would have Kentucky play Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and I would have Vanderbilt play those same teams. I would have Mississippi State. I would have the bottom half of the SEC only play the top half, and I would have like 8 or 9 SEC teams go 7-1 in conference play. I would artificially make it to where the SEC has. You're shaking your head, Sean, but that's
sad.
what
I know you're being funny, Darrell, but it's not wrong. But that's how sad that it is. It shouldn't be this way. I mean, it really should not be this way. Because I mean, I know like Joe Long saying easy fix, put most weight on strength of schedule, but again, it doesn't still incentivize teams to play tough schedules, though, even if you weight strength of schedule. Because again, if you have, like, to your point, Darrell, if you put an 8-4 team in a 12-team playoff because of the strength of schedule, then yeah, just load up on the schedule. But that's not gonna happen. Even if you weight strength of schedule, they're only gonna look up to 3-loss teams. They're not gonna take into account a 4-loss team. So it's still going to incentivize these teams to play easier schedules easier non-conference schedules when you are especially if you have a tough season. Like, if you have a tough season in front of you, just be like, well, we're canceling our non-con game this year. We're not going to do it. Now, if you have an easier schedule, then maybe like, hey, let's add that non-conference game this year. But in a season like Florida should just get rid. Florida should just get rid of playing Miami, right? Like, get rid of Miami. Because, like, why? Just play nobody out of conference. And then Florida's like, oh, we're 9-3, we're in the playoff now. Just get rid of them.
So my major point of contention with the playoff committee is when they released this format last summer. We had Mark had open lines on this. Mm-hmm. I had a conversation with Darrell for a second about this, and several people were calling in, airing out a lot of the grievances that we are airing out right now. providing this legitimate criticism, predicting these consequences. And maybe we just have maybe the voice of college football has just by far the most intelligent fan base, which we probably do. So, maybe I'm being a little unfair to the committee here.
Mhm.
All of the issues with this format were predicted here, within the 2-hour show on it.
I've been talking about it for 2 years.
And legitimately. So what kind of process did they go through to beta test these ideas?
And there's tons of people in the room too, supposedly.
Right.
It's not just 2 people.
Well,
Right. I mean, how do you arrive at this, and how do you put this out to the public, and how do you implement this? And now you come out with a system telling me Boise State's the 3rd best team in the country.
Right. I believe I was the first person to say, hey, the 5 seed has a massive advantage. And I was pushing that beat for 6 months to a year before.
You're absolutely correct.
I was the first day, hey, I would like to lose the conference championship game, get the 5 seed, because I'm probably going to play a G5 team and the Big 12 team and just get a cakewalk. I mean, Sean's completely right. And I think a lot of people who watch college football are casual fans. And I think
I can't stand casual fans. The reason I don't like casual fans is not the fact that they're casuals. It's the fact that when they start getting opinionated and they start saying a bunch of stupid stuff that they hear on TV and then they just repeat it and oh, I know so much about college football when you don't. Like when I first watched college football when I was younger and I didn't barely know anything about it, I didn't have any opinions on it. Why are you going to have opinions on stuff you don't understand or don't know very well? That's why that'd be like me having an opinion on the freaking 1100s in Mongolia. I don't know, Genghis Khan. That's about it. I don't really have an opinion other than that. I don't know. But it's when it comes to college football, I have tons of opinions because of the fact I've watched it for 2 decades, and I've study it to death, and I enjoy watching it. So I have opinions, and Sean and you, Darrell, have watched even way longer than me, and you guys have tons of opinions on the sport. You just shouldn't. When you're a casual and you don't really know, it doesn't matter even if it's football. If you don't know a lot about something, just start having all these takes and trying to act like you know more than everybody else when you don't. That's what I don't like about casual.
I agree with everything you said, Jeffrey, but I think the reason the conference commissioners expanded, because they're the ones who did it, not the college football playoff committee. The conference commissioners expanded it was because Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Clemson was making the college football playoff most years, with Florida State occasionally, all in the South. And I think they said, you know what we want? We want the West Coast involved. We want the North involved. We want the Midwest involved. When generally, I'm just speaking generally, I'm not including Ohio State, Notre Dame, Penn State, and Michigan in this. They don't care as much as the South. I'm sorry. There is no amount of love and attention or money UCLA can get to win the national championship. You know why? Because they don't care enough to win the national championship.
And that's why I told you have to care. I told Will last night, if Indiana football had of care back in the 1920s and got Newt Rockne instead of Notre Dame, then Indiana would actually have had a good football history. But you know what? They said, we don't care. We're all about basketball. Branch McCracken, let's go. And then Bob Knight. It's who gives a, what? And that's why Indiana football is no good. You have to care. If you don't care, you're not going to win. And
I mean, the University of Chicago used to dominate the Big Ten.
Yeah, and then they're gone. They don't even have a team anymore.
Yeah,
right. And it's because we're trying to make it. We're at the point where we're trying to include everybody, but not everybody should be included. We've created in this society where inclusion is the most high value, virtuous goal you could possibly achieve.
That's like putting us all as CEOs of a company when we don't know how to run one.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think Jackson's wanted to say something because I saw your live chat.
Sorry, Jackson. Sorry.
All right. It happens. But Joan, what have we got going on this week? And
I want to give my I never gave my picks for the playoff games here real quick. I want to give them real quick.
All right.
All right. The Ohio State Texas game. I'm going to pick Ohio State. I have it 31-20. I'm a little bit nervous
My
that
exact score 31-20. Ohio State.
I mean, I think Texas is going to be competitive. I was really pulling for Arizona State in that game because I would have thought this. I was hoping just to have like one sort of easy cakewalk. I guess they've both been cakewalks eventually, but not in the week leading up to the games. Here, no, I think this game's going to be really tough. I think Texas. I'm always scared of these teams that feel like they play to level their competition, and so everyone underestimates what they really can do. So I mean, like I won't be surprised if this is a complete 4-quarter game. I won't be shocked if Texas wins this game.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody will be. I mean, it'll be slight shock, but it's not going to be shock. Texas has the chops to win it all. They just have underperformed all season. They have the players, but
we've seen this story many times in sports before. I mean, DeReal probably knows this better than anyone. I mean, a team that kind of looks mid the entire year and just kind of skates by. Like, I would say the Chiefs this year are kind of that team.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Week to week, it's like week to week, you just barely beat a lot of average teams, and people don't think you're any good, but you actually are. So I pick Ohio State. I think they're the better team, and they definitely are playing better lately, but that doesn't always mean everything. So I have Ohio State winning 31-20, and I have Notre Dame winning 23-17 in that. So Kettering, Ohio's own former Buckeye alumni Marcus Freeman will get to coach against his alma mater for a national championship.
Yeah, I'm really pulling for Notre Dame because if we get an Ohio State Penn State national championship, that'll be the least interesting national championship in a long time because Penn State has shown they just aren't on Ohio State's level, and they've shown that over the last 10 years. So it's like we all kind of just crown Ohio State because when Ohio State was at their C level, they were still significantly better than Penn State.
Ohio State played poor against Penn State this year, and they
dominated.
I mean, literally, the only reason Penn State did a thing was the pick six. They had nothing else in that game. It's kind of like how Michigan beat Bama. Literally, if Will Howard has another pick six, then Penn State wins. Mm-hmm. Like that's all it would have taken. Because Penn State didn't do nothing on offense against Ohio State. Nothing.
There we go.
No, and Penn State hasn't been overwhelmingly impressive. They just had an easy road to get here. But I still expect a really good competitive game.
I mean, Texas didn't do nothing either. They just have better players. They have better recruits. You know, they recruit better. I mean, because honestly, if Texas played if Texas had a Florida schedule, they're not making the playoffs. I don't think. I really don't.
They're not making the playoffs. You don't think?
I honestly think they have 3 losses.
But yeah, Sean, what magic?
A 3-loss team didn't get in. So
okay, go ahead.
What magic we got going on X and Blue Sky this week?
Well, I'll just be monitoring this crazy globe that we're having, providing my insights on the happenings going on around the world. This is a crazy month. We will be having a new president this month in Canada. We'll be having a new prime minister here pretty soon. And I don't know. I'll just. What was that?
Inauguration.
I'm sorry. What was that, Darrell?
Joker, you headed to the inauguration?
World event? No. I don't even know if I'm allowed at the inauguration. I'm pretty sure Elon Musk has been tracking my activity online, and so
look at Mark Rogers saying, "Let this sink in." In the 21st century, Penn State has finished in the top 5 ones. Ohio State 18 times. Thank you for that, Mark. Appreciate it.
No,
Oh, by the way, I saw Mark's got a new recruiting channel for the Voice of College Football. I'm not sure if you've all seen that, but he.
I have. I've been tracking it. He's bringing on Leanne
Yeah,
Herring from the she you may know her from the Ole Miss channel. She does a really good job every day breaking down. Lately, it's been a lot of portal discussion, but because recruiting is not as big of a topic right now. We do have like the official secondary signing day, but that's not as big of a deal right now. But she does a good job running down the players that have entered the portal. We could have used her last season when it was a lot crazier than it is this year, but it's a worthwhile. It's a worthwhile listen. You'll stay better informed every day if you catch their conversations.
Yeah, it's also just my opinion. She seems really passionate about recruiting, very knowledgeable about it.
Yes, very much so.
She's got on the field experience with dealing with recruiting and analysis and stuff. So
yes, and she is actually is it San Antonio for the Navy All-American Bowl?
Mark just said that right here. Leanne has been a recruiting analyst for 60 years, ton of experience, connection. She's in San Antonio this week for the All-American Bowl workouts.
Nice, yeah. So yeah, lots of good information there on a daily basis. So
Sean, I thought you were going to pitch Mark your channel, The Voice of the Real World, and you were just going to be an on-the-ground reporter going to all these different countries when like presidents and stuff are inaugurated, and you got
right.
John would be busy. That's a 365-day job.
Yeah, but no, was it Pierre Poulion who's the
Pierre Pavlev?
Yeah. If he wants to come on here and talk with me, like that's an open invitation. I will be willing to have that. Yeah.
But
and I'm sure Mark would accommodate that if I would.
Well, all right, Sean. We'll be seeing you on College Football After Dark on Sunday nights.
Yes. And unlike the cowards that normally host that show, I will be there.
Oh Lord,
I will be there on Sunday night, regardless of the outcome.
Oh, Sean, can you explain to Mark what you're accommodating?
Yeah, I was about to say, Mark said, "What am I accommodating?" As long as it costs zero.
I mean, like
oh my gosh, man! Oh,
well, we will have to discuss this with the Conservative Party of Canada. But if Pierre Poulev wants to have a discussion with me, he can reach out, and
Lord,
I would think this would be a good format.
Mark Rogers said to Rough Rider Returns, "Hey, what's up?" And then he said, "Rough Rider Returns said, listening to the empire you have built, Mark." It's so good. The empire sometimes runs off the rails.
Yeah.
Hey.
I don't think
if we can influence the soon to be 51st state, then maybe.
Well, I thought after that, Sean, we were going to have you fly to the 52nd state in Greenland and then go make the 53rd state in Panama.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, God. I mean, I'll just be the ambassador of college football. I would want to know, like, what conference do you think the University of Nuuk in Greenland would play in here? Like, is that like you think that could be a Conference USA program in a few years?
And then we can get.
Oh, they'll probably put them in the MAC or the Mountain West.
America East for basketball.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, the University of Alaska is nothing either. We got a University of Alaska. They don't have football. I mean, we need to make
Alaska
football.
Anchorage, right?
Yeah, in Anchorage. Yeah, you got the University of Nuuk. That is so funny, man. I mean, that would be like the smallest university ever, man. It'd have like 100 people there. Oh my! what Mark said, I'll put you in charge of Canada, Sean. They're not that important.
Oh, God, come on. They're like the 9th largest economy in the world here. Something like that.
Canada's not that irrelevant. I mean, they used to have
Not
an
irrelevant
iconic
at all.
Tim Hortons, but Tim Hortons has fallen, man.
Damn.
Man, they're not owned by the Canadians anymore.
No, man. I grew up on Canadian television, by the way.
Canadian television had some good shows. I got some good
Oh,
cartoons.
yeah.
Let's be fair.
No. I grew up on Much Music and Kids in the Hall here, so
I think the reason people don't like Canada is because Nickelback was from there. I think that's why.
Yeah.
I mean, people just hate not because of that. It's like that's not enough of a reason not to like.
Justin Bieber's from
Justin
there.
Justin Bieber's bad, but hey, Rush is also from there.
Rush is fire. So that's I mean, come on. And Nickelback's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Our Lady Peace, which you guys, everyone here is probably way too young to know, but
well, Sean, we'll be seeing you Sunday night, and then we will get to Darrell, and then we'll take final calls for the night. We'll be seeing you, Sean.
Take care, guys.
Have a good night, Sean.
Yeah, that was a blast.
Yeah, Jeffrey, we need you on the After Dark show, expanding the SEC empire and getting rid of this fake propaganda out there.
I think we need to get a bat signal to get Jeffrey, but
Jeffrey's like the smart, level-headed guy that was on the After Dark show, get everybody in line, and then he left and the show just went completely off the rails, which is entertaining. It's like watching a car crash or watching some crazy person speak because you never know what they're going to say next. We need Jeffrey in there just to be like, anybody who says the Big Ten is this and great and how great they are, Jeffrey be like, no, the SEC's better. Here's the data points. And just completely wreck their argument. We need you back.
I appreciate that, Darrell. I do. I haven't had the time to go on After Dark. I've been staying really busy, but I've been wanting to be on there. I mean, I feel like when I'm on there and like, like you're on there, some of the callers are on there, it's like the show just kind of flows, but like I haven't been on there and I've seen some of the replays. Sometimes it's just kind of like it just goes crazy. So I mean, I don't know if it's singularly me. I think it's a certain amount of people, but I do try to bring even though some people say I rant too much, a calming air. I just try to bring good points. So I appreciate that, Darrell. But I'll try to make my way back on there again soon if I can. It's always a blast being on there.
No, you had probably the most entertaining argument between Kirk Cignetti and Clark Lee, who should be head coach of the year. And honestly, it's still kind of a toss-up to me who should have been head coach of the year. I mean, Kirk Cignetti probably should have won it, but Clark Lee, man, he deserved more credit than what he got. I mean,
you remember that art? That was one of the last times I was on. I was not having it, man.
Oh, well, Darrell, what you got going on tomorrow?
What I got going on tomorrow? I don't know what shows Marks has because he hasn't uploaded the community notes. I don't know. Oh, I guess there's a playoff game tomorrow, so I guess I'll be watching the playoff game. And then if Penn State wins, all the Big Ten fans will be crawling out under the rock and saying how great the Big Ten is, despite 4 weeks ago saying the bowl games didn't matter and rooting for your conference was something only the SEC did and was silly because we root for teams. So that'll be fun. What else?
Well, and I assume there's going to be like I'm sure there'll probably be like another on the move episode. If there's like there's going to be a Bill Bender episode with Sporting News. Nice, at 11 a.m. Central Time and noon Eastern Time. And then Mark's going to be live after the game. And of course, there's the Ohio State call-in show and the Michigan call-in show.
Yeah, I don't travel in the Michigan circles because those people are they're a different breed than the type of people I deal with. Jeffrey, have you ever been on the Michigan channel?
Yeah, I have had the pleasure of being on the Michigan channel twice to talk about Indiana football. Once last year when they were bad, and then this year when they were good. And yes, I agree with you, Drill. It is crazy on over there. That's why their community, the Michigan channel, is doing so well. I mean, they got a massive community, and it's entertaining, to say the least. But it can also get frustrating after a while. You can only take so much. You know what I'm saying? As an outsider, you can only take so much of their takes.
Well, all I know, Jeffrey, from watching that channel is Michigan's the best team that ever was. The best.
Yeah, they're the number one team, man, this season.
And they're the best team that will ever be. We should honestly just cancel the sport and just declare Michigan champions from here to the end of time. I mean, the fact is it would prevent all these CTE cases from going on, and all these players would just be drafting. Every NFL player should be from Michigan, according to that channel. Every single one. Bryce Underwood's going there, and he's going to be the best quarterback of all time. He's going to be a combination of Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. Isn't that going to be insane to stop? He's going to have Lamar Jackson's legs, Tom Brady's passing accuracy, and Patrick Mahomes' wow factor. That's going to be tough to stop, man. We should just forfeit the season coming up.
I agree, Darrell. Just cancel it all. The voice of college football said, I think I'll jump on the Michigan show at some point and take on everyone at the same time.
That would be very entertaining, and I was
Yes, it would. It would.
There you go.
I've advocated for Mark to do those type of things because that would be very entertaining. And some of these fan bases have gone completely off their rocker, like the USC channel.
It's social media, man. It's social media.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw. You know how dipped down USC is? They were celebrating the fact Ohio State killed Oregon. How bad of a fan down does your fan base have to be to celebrate another team beating your rival? I mean, that's down bad.
USC and Oregon, they're rivals, but because they're running the pack, but that's petty at that point. That's very petty. It's not like it's UCLA, I mean, their main rival. That's dumb. I mean, but hey, whatever.
There you go.
They can do whatever they want, I guess. I mean, like I said, social media has just enabled so many people that do not know what they're talking about to have opinions.
It was that quote.
That is what is enabled. And some people, they actually know their opinions are bad. They just say it because they can and for humor.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that's how some people act.
That would be like me last year saying that Indiana should have made the playoffs. I mean, that is just being delusional. I mean, I'm not going to do that. I'll try to actually have good takes. Now, I'm wrong. I'm wrong a lot because I'm a human. Everybody's wrong at times. But, I try not to make terrible takes, though. I really don't, and sometimes I do every now and then. But some people just purposefully have bad takes just for the sake of it, whether it's for humor or literally they believe it, and it's just insane.
Right, that's what I learned, Jeffrey. All these Big Ten fans actually believe they've been better than the SEC for the last 5-10 years. That's frightening to me. You know how insane you got to be to believe that? That scares me.
No.
It is like they say, human beings are so smart, man. We're so advanced, right? I mean, compared to animals, but man, I don't know. There's so many people setting us back, man. You just got to get it right here. There's something wrong. I always laugh too, when people say so many people in the world are not smart, and people get mad about that, they don't want to hear that, and it's all you have to do is look around you. Look on social media, and you can't tell me that that's not the case.
Right. This is why I don't have a Twitter, because everybody goes to, this can't be your genuine opinion. This has got to be some conspiracy theory that this person's related to this person who knows this person who worked at the post office was this person. Therefore, the mail was delivered to the CEO of this company. Therefore, ESPN is in cahoots with the SEC because of all this train of thought. And it's good gosh. I mean, Jeffrey, did you see Kirk Herbstreit was on 3?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was on the Andy Aries show on Tuesday, and he talked about if you want to accuse ESPN of anything, accuse us of wanting Ohio State and Notre Dame to play one another.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Kirk Herbstreit, when he was on there and when he explained himself, I thought everything he said was completely reasonable. I couldn't do Twitter because I would just get in those day-long arguments with people.
I couldn't do it. If you notice, like especially Jackson, because Jackson and me, like we retweet a lot of our shows and stuff like that. But I'll take long breaks from Twitter. I can't take it. I cannot handle it because people will get into it with me over the stupid thing. I've actually gotten into it with some decently big people before, and like they're treating me like I'm an account with 2 followers, like I'm just like some moron or something. And it's like I mean I'm not dumb here. Like I'm not a genius. I'm not that smart, but I'm not dumb. But these people think I'm an idiot for making a take that they don't agree with because they're a fan of this team that they love so much. And it's like, dude, don't you think maybe your bias is kind of blinding you to here, and that maybe I have a point? Like, you don't have to agree with me, but acting like I'm a moron when you're actually saying an absolutely moronic take about your own team that you clearly like, so you're going to defend them to the death. That's fine. But like, you can't even admit that. Like it just kills me. I can't do it. I just cannot have debate.
Well, Jeffrey, like unlike you, I'll call somebody out by name. I'll call somebody out by name because I think they deserve it. The Locked On Big 12 guy in his videos. Have you seen
Drake Toll?
Have you seen the title of his videos? I mean, they just make literally no sense if you think about it for 5 seconds. They had one like Arizona State is going to appeal this loss against Texas, and therefore they still can make the semifinals. Let me see if I can find that video.
It's called clickbait, Darrell. That's why he's blowing up, right? Like, I don't do clickbait, and if I did, I probably would have 1 million followers, but I don't do clickbait. That's what he's doing. It's called clickbait. Like, there's this car guy. I don't know if you've ever seen him before, but there's this car guy, like auto mechanic. I think his name's Scotty Kilmer or whatever, but he's like an old guy. I don't know if you've seen him before, Jackson or Darrell or anybody in chat, but like his thumbnails and his titles are so dumb. I mean, he'll have like a freaking Mazda in his photo, but he's talking about Chrysler. I mean, it doesn't even make any sense. I like the guy too because he's hilarious. Like Troy V says, I watch Scotty. He's funny as heck.
Yeah,
he is so freaking hilarious. But his thumbnails and his in his old videos, he didn't do that. He didn't do that in his old videos, but his modern ones are just so bad. But the thing is, like, he's not even the worst. Like, I watch so many YouTubers, man. They just make the stupidest thumbnails, and the video's not even about what they're talking about. But yet they get views because they titled their video in a certain way that they knew to get views. It just kills me, man.
Joe, we got a new member of Alabama with the Voice of College Football. Breakaway 34 has gifted 1 YouTube membership of Alabama with the Voice of College Football to the godfather of the SEC. Congratulations.
Who better to get the membership for Alabama with the Voice of College Football than the godfather of the SEC? Appreciate that, Breakaway 34.
Be sure to hit the like and subscribe to Alabama with the Voice of College Football. Not this Thursday. That's why I was like, gotta move it up to Wednesday because not competing with the semifinal. But
I've heard that those memberships go based off of watch time. They're not random. So the more you watch a certain channel, the more likely you are to be gifted a membership. So that's probably why he was gifted a membership. And the video I was talking about, Jeffrey, here's the title, okay? Here's the title. Report. Arizona State appealing loss to Texas after terrible call. College football playoff alive. I mean, what do you think about that, Jeffrey?
It's trash. I mean, it's not legitimate. And like, I'm not saying anything derogatory about that individual because I do not know him, and he's probably a perfectly fine human being, like Scotty Kilmer and so many other people that do clickbait. But he's purposefully using clickbait and lying in his titles and thumbnails to get views. And I hate that. I don't like it because of the fact you're not telling the truth. It's false advertising. For example, I'm old enough. I'm old enough to remember older YouTube. Okay. So like when it was just basically just stupid crap that people blew up on instead of it being all algorithm. I can't even say it right. The algorithm. Yeah, I was trying to say with an ithic on the end, but whatever. algorithm.
Algorithmic.
I was trying to sound cool, but whatever. Point is, though, is I remember when YouTube was not all about the algorithms. Yeah, I'm not old enough, Bean. I'm not old enough. Probably also tired too. You know, I've been on here for 2.5 hours. But the thing is that old YouTube, it just used to be out doing stupid crap, and you would get you blow up. Versus now, it's all has to be with the titles and the thumbnails and all that kind of junk, and having manager people that tell you exactly what to do to make your channel blow up. But the thing is, I remember this old video back when I was like 8 years old. It was this roller coaster video where you had the roller coaster. It was a loop-de-loop, right? It was a freaking loop. And at the top of the loop, there's no rail. And it has the freaking people on the top in the cart, right? And there's no rail. It's just in air. It's suspended in air with nothing underneath it to support it, right? There's nothing underneath it. And it said craziest, most dangerous roller coaster rides in the world. And it had like 100 million views. And the video itself was just a simple video of a dude talking about the 10 craziest roller coasters in the world. And none of them were that fake crap thumbnail that person used that was not even legit. That just irritates me.
So, Jeffrey, what you're telling me from this analogy is Arizona State's not going to play Ohio State in a few days? Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, God. Well,
because I got this guy who has a report that says Arizona State's appealing and their college football playoff is alive, right?
No, man, no. It's all lies, man. It's all lies. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, like I agree. I literally agree. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say, but I agree with Rough Rider Returns. The population is devolving. It is. How can you not believe that? I mean, people believe in this trash. They watch the video and it's like, and then they don't come away with it ever even questioning anything. It's like, no. I'm not going to click on a video. I used to, but I don't click on clickbait crap anymore. I mean, Scotty Kilmer is the exception because, again, sometimes it's just too funny. But like, I do not watch clickbait. I just do not because that's why Mark Rogers, that's why I gravitated toward his channel a few years ago because I got sick and tired of trash takes, lies, just flat out manipulation in sports news. And Mark Rogers was no nonsense, telling the truth. And all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's why my channel hasn't blown up as well. I mean, and yeah, if Mark Rogers and me and you, Jackson, just told lies and videos, just manipulate and all that kind of crap, we'd have 1 billion views, man. 1 billion subs would be all good. I just don't like that, though. I don't care. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to tell false advertising to get views. I don't care if my channel never reaches 100,000 subs. I don't care if any of the channels I'm on, but this one, Mark's none. I mean, I care Mark. Mark can do exactly what he wants. I mean, even if Mark started using clickbait, like I would still, Mark can do whatever he wants on his main channel. And I just really respect the fact that he doesn't do it. But like the stuff with me and you, Jackson, you can do whatever you want on this channel, like whatever. But like this show, I'm not going to do it. I'm not using clickbait. I'm just not going to do it. Because to me, I don't want to deceive people. I just don't.
What's the word of the night? What's the word of the night, Jeffrey? 3-letter word.
Lie. Mid.
Yep.
Mid and lie.
Darrell got it.
Lie, but it's also lie too.
Clickbait is mid.
Clickbait is trash. It's outright trash.
But see,
I just love using that word so much because it's like one of these days that's gonna have to get trademarked. Like mid. There's like a T-shirt that says it's mid.
Mark said we'll get it done the right way. Solidarity, Mark. Get it done the right way. That's awesome. Bean says, Jeffrey, when's the last time you told a lie? I can't answer that. I don't know. I mean, everybody's lied before. But I'm just saying, I don't want to just purposefully deceive people on my videos. I don't want to do that. I mean, I can't say I've never not did.
What if you made a video that I told you was like, report Alabama is going to make the college football playoff. Kalen DeBoer appeals committee's decision. And that video got 1 million views. You're telling me you aren't willing to sacrifice your reputation and stuff for views? Is that what you're telling me, Jeffrey? You have integrity.
I can't. I don't think I can do it, man.
I'm
I don't
good.
think I can do it. I don't think I can do it.
What I would ask you, Jeffrey, and this is something I've tried in the past getting Mark to push, is I think Mark should push like all these channels and stuff that are just clickbait and just call them out. He should just be the guy that calls out all the
Well,
numbers.
yeah, if you do that, then you're calling out the clickbait. Like, that's fine. I could do that. Sure, I'll make a video like sometime in the future. I'll just say this person's clickbait. They're not telling the truth. Here's the honest reporting.
Well, Jeffrey, imagine if you had a segment on this channel, okay, and was just calling out an insane Alabama take every single way on you see on Twitter and stuff. Like the first game, somebody calls for Kalen DeBoer being fired or whatnot and say this is nonsense for these reasons. That's the way to get views and keep your integrity, is just by calling out all the fakery out there, because there's way too much fakery.
I agree with Mark's comment right here, and I got to do a better job myself, because I mean, a lot of times my titles are absolute garbage because I don't know how to title videos. But Mark said we should do a better job with intriguing titles and debate, still maintain our integrity. Sure. Absolutely. Exactly. That because you're not, because what I'm saying, I don't want to lie. Like what you just said about saying Alabama still can get in the playoff when they have absolutely no way they can get in the playoff. Whereas saying something in the nature of like a video of like, for example, like if I made a video right now saying why Alabama will make the playoffs in 2025, 2026.
Oh, that's fine.
Like that video, I'm okay with that. Like I'm explaining my opinions of why I think that they will make the playoffs in 2025, 2026. What I don't like though is someone saying that you can't get that you can't make the playoffs, but now I'm making a video saying, oh yeah, they can still get in. Blah 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 blah. That's the garbage I can't stand.
Absolutely. And I think it's also different if it's already happened and everybody understands there's no way anything could possibly change, and you still make a video saying there's this technical narrow route of it. I mean, that's just complete nonsense in my opinion. But I think Mark and you would do a great job just crushing the clickbait, because you're educated, you understand the content, you understand all the arguments, and you're more objective, way more objective than most people in the space. The amount of recency bias and conference/team bias in the college football sphere is insane. I mean, it is insane. Like all the Big 12 people, when Arizona State almost beat Texas, and you know what they said? BYU should have belonged in the playoffs. BYU should have belonged in the playoffs, Jeffrey, over Miami, over Alabama. It's like, oh my goodness.
Bean just said, so Jeffrey's okay with deception but not lying. That's not what I said.
That wasn't deception.
That's not what I said. And Dread Not Fear said, what is Jeffrey's channel? And right here, Jackson put, my main channel is right there, link, www.youtube.com/onlytalksports. And then also I'm the host of the Indiana channel too, www.youtube.com/@Indiana Voice of College Football. So if you're not subscribed to both those channels, Dread Not Fear, definitely appreciate if you go check it out and subscribe. Would really help out a lot. You know, like I said, I mean, I got to do a better job with titles and thumbnails and all that kind of stuff. And Mark, you know, like he's saying he's got to as well. But Mark does a way better job on thumbnails and titles than I do. Mine are way worse. But, I mean, I just, like I said, I mean, the main reason, again, I gravitated toward Mark's channel was because just how brutally honest that he was. I mean, nobody tells the truth 100% of the time, and nobody's right 100% of the time. I know I'm wrong a lot. But why I like Mark is just the vibes he gave off when I first started watching. I'm like, man, Mark is just he's just not what, you know, where he used to be employed at, what they do, and like how they just spin everything and it just manipulate public thinking. I don't like manipulating public thinking. I want people to think differently than what the main narrative is thinking, because 99% of the time the main narrative is wrong. So if I think this way, I'm going to tell people about it, and then it's up to you if you want to believe it or not. I'm not going to spin it in a way where it's like, oh, you have to believe it because I'm spinning it in this way where it must be true because I'm a big guy on TV. Like, no, that's what I don't like. Like, I don't want to deceive people, and a lot of people, just to be famous and get big. That's not the way I will ever want to do it. And if I ever am doing it like that, and then something went wrong, so I would like someone to, get me back on the right path, because that's not the way to go about it. I just don't agree. I don't like it.
An example that I can give Mark now is, do you remember Florida State's athletic director after the horrible season? He filed like a brief or something. I don't know the legal term, but saying, he said in a court document, well, FSU never said we wanted to leave the ACC. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I was, oh man. So Florida State has just been like, the hot girl with mental issues this season.
Well, there you go, Mark. You can go tear into Florida State's athletic director, because he said this year after the season, said in a brief or whatever contract, I don't know the term.
We're gonna leave you. We're gonna leave you. We're gonna leave you. Yeah,
and then
my
they did so bad.
We should leave you. You beat Powell and you beat who? Charleston Southern. You're right.
Beat said the hot girl with mental issues. Only Jackson would say that. That's good. Voice of College Football, Mark said, I tore into Herbstreit over his
it just came out of my mind.
16,000 views. Yeah, absolutely. Like you made a video talking about Herbstreit and it got tons of views, but you just make a standard video about like a team schedule or whatever. It's just, YouTube is about getting people's attention, and that's why so many people do fib on their thumbnails. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. It's just that they are lying. There has to be a way, like Mark said, to make intriguing titles and thumbnails to attract viewers without lying.
Right. Well,
as long as you're not lying, I'm fine with it. I don't care. Even if it's slightly like a little bit clickbaity, as long as you're not outright lying, I'm fine with it, because you're giving the viewers what they wanted.
What Mark does great is dissect arguments and stuff. And unfortunately, in the college football space, nobody uploads videos of like 15 minutes long. Everybody does 2-hour live streams. And everybody in those 2-hour live streams, they'll just say something completely normal for like the first hour and 30 minutes. And then they'll say, well, Tennessee definitely didn't belong in the playoffs, but SMU clearly belonged in the playoffs.
And then it gets the discussion going. I mean, like I've had that happen so many times where like I'm on here for like an hour, nothing happens, and then I just say something, and then it just unhinges the comments. It just goes crazy.
Right. Mark, Jackson, do you know where that article, it was on ESPN, that FSU.
The article about Florida State saying they were never going to leave. That was a story that broke out from USA Today, I believe.
Okay. Well, Mark said copy got it, so I don't know. Do you know how long ago that story was?
That was in December, where Florida State was saying, we never said anything about leaving the ACC. Really?
Yeah, like how are we supposed to believe that? Honestly.
Well, I liked in the ESPN article, like a paragraph later, it's like, here in this other document, it clearly says, quote, it was like, quote, Florida State plans on filing this brief to give official notice to the ACC. They would like to leave. And it's like, you got them dead to rights. It was hilarious.
But yeah. Well, I'll say this, Darrell. Tomorrow night is going to be a wild ride.
Oh, Mark found it. Maybe we'll get a video tonight about this FSU thing.
Oh, yeah.
Mark probably wants to go to sleep. I mean, that's where I'm going to be going when we get off here. It's like 1:14. I didn't think we were staying up this late, but man, the discussion's been great. I mean, imagine this. We have a call-in show for Alabama fans, and our only callers are Darrell and Sean Garner, and we've gone for 2.5 hours. That's all we need. Literally, that's all we need.
Right. Well, we're also, Jeffrey, trying to pump this channel up. I don't know. I just said tonight, Mark, but we're just trying to pump this channel up.
Hey, the Alabama channel is definitely trending in the right direction. Me and Jackson and Johnny, we're working on it, and our callers and you guys in the chat are definitely helping with that. I mean, whenever we get Darrell or Dr. Buckeye or Sean or someone like that on it, you guys make it a blast every time.
There we go. And tune in this off season for more wild and crazy shows. Like you saw in the regular season for Crimson Tide Live, you're going to see some more awesome shows in the off season. Tune in. If you like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss another video. you can come on in and check out some amazing, wild, tremendous episodes of Crimson Tide Live. Monday afternoons, 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time.
Sean said the discussion tonight was gold. If the masses don't enjoy it, that's on them. Absolutely, Sean. I agree. I mean, we can't get the mass in there. That's because they're listening to terrible, uneducated sports talk. Like we got the intelligent people in here. We got Mark Rogers. We got DeReal. We got Sean Garner. We got all of the smart
Breakaway,
college
the
football fans around here.
Godfather, the SEC, Rough Rider returns, and
I mean,
some
you can't beat it,
news. Man, there's so
Mark
many.
says, I'll read through the article of Penn State Notre Dame are punting 18 times in the first half of a 3-3 game. So gold.
And oh man.
Yeah, maybe what I should do, or we should do, maybe I should do is create a Twitter and just send Mark a bunch of stuff on Twitter. Because what I like about Twitter is when I had a Twitter, it was just short form videos or just like 140 or 280 characters of people just saying the most insane college football takes. Like, do you guys watch Paul Feinbaum any?
I've caught on there a couple times. Last time was on March 2024.
I've responded to some of his questions before that he would do on Twitter or X and respond to that. But I've never been on the show.
I've never been on the show.
The first time I caught on there, last year, I was waiting for the show to get to me, but there's a guy just railing into Paul. He's like, "You're a weasel, Paul. You're so stupid, Paul. You're a weasel." And then there's another guy just droning on about Britney Spears or Taylor Swift. I'm like, what did I drag myself into?
That's what I was going to say. There are different breeds.
Get to my turn. I got the more important take than those doofuses. Oh my God.
Did you hear them after Alabama lost a few games and now after the SEC? They're acting like the SEC is just terrible from what I'm hearing on YouTube and stuff. It's
oh man.
Unless the SEC wins every single game, we're a terrible conference.
Yeah, they have to be perfect. Like I said, the standard was so high before that nobody could say that the Big Ten was anywhere close. But now that the Big Ten's knocking off a couple games, it's now they're automatically better. When that's not the case. It's just not the case.
Right. My favorite argument I heard today was from Moose, who, after I said the Vegas lines wasn't a valid way of measuring it, he said, well, the reason the Big Ten's better is because Michigan beat Alabama and they were minus 13. Alabama was minus 13. I'm like, good gosh, Moose. You got to do better trolling than that, buddy. And the crazy part is I believe he believes that stuff. I actually believe that he believes it, which is crazy.
He probably does because, again, his bias towards Michigan and also toward the Big Ten does kind of cloud, his opinions a bit. It doesn't necessarily mean Moose is awesome. Moose is a great, guy in the chat. We love Moose, but sometimes, your opinion can get a little bit clouded by your bias. I've had debates with people about their favorite team and their bias towards their team clouds their thinking sometimes. It's just the way that it is.
I'm gonna have to watch a clip of Daryl on the Feinbaum show and I'm gonna have to watch it over and over again just to get an accurate read on his voice.
Mark says, I've contemplated going live immediately after the Michigan show just to shred all the idiotic, irrational comments in the chat.
There you go.
Please, I believe I can be the first to say this. Please do. Jeffrey, Jackson, can you all please second and third me? That would be so hilarious. Because, the amount of insanity, it's not just that chat. The USC chat has it as well. The, all the chats have it in their team. All of them do.
We don't have enough crazy Bama fans in our chat yet. Like the Alabama channel, what if we start getting the far corners of the Bama internet over here, then you're going to be saying the same thing, Darrell. It's no, me and Jackson, we're still plugging along here. We're not crazy, but you're gonna have that eventually, I'm sure.
Well, that
yeah.
was why I was talking about the Paul Feinbaum show, because that's where I know where the crazy Alabama fans are. You got Daryl.
We want them over here, though. We want them over here. We want the fringe over here. You know, it's gonna
I guess I
take
better
time,
call
you
the Feinbaum show more often. This way I can just be like, hey, want to come on to a real network? Come on to the Voice College Football. Come
And
here.
Darrell,
come
you
here.
can call in, man. You can still call in, and like the chat's gonna be crazy, but don't worry about it, man. Like I went on the Michigan show and I got obliterated. I got obliterated for saying Indiana was gonna beat Michigan this year. I got obliterated. That kid don't know what he's talking about. That kid's nuts. Indiana sucks. We're gonna kill him. And like I got obliterated by it. But you know what? I don't care.
Well, apparently, I went on there one time to call in after the Ohio State-Michigan game because I was predicting Ohio State to beat them down, and they should have, but they didn't. So I called in and said, apparently, some guy on the Michigan channel has created an account that's like mine. That's the real MVP, except they have spaces in their name. So they've got an impersonator of me over there, which I don't know how to feel about that. That somebody's
Dude, you know you've made it when you got an impersonator. Oh my gosh. I'll
Yeah,
probably get one too eventually if I keep ranting.
Well, the crazy part is Jeffrey's like, I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have social media and stuff. And these Michigan fans, I don't get why they value some guy's opinion. That's just an SEC fan that has I mean, think about how insecure you have to be as a fan or a person in general to where somebody else.
I was going to say as a person.
Right. To think your football team as a 20.5-point underdog could lose. Or it's a team that hasn't done anything before 2020 since 1996. Didn't do anything. Didn't even make a blimp on the national landscape. I mean,
they're like the guy Go Blue. I remember oh my god. I'm trying not to laugh when describing this, but it was like one of the after dark shows. It was day after rivalry week, or it was like the week after, but he had like the pacifier on Ryan Day crying.
Mark said you're a celebrity, Drill, and Bean says if DeBoer goes 6-6 here, this channel will blow up. I hope that don't happen, but it probably would. No. And then Mark also said the stronger the channel, Michigan, USC, Miami, the more concentrated the fan base in the chat, therefore the more delusional. I agree. Like if this channel's at 10,000 subs, then our chat is going to be just as crazy as the Michigan one. And to Mark's point, those Michigan fans are the largest contingent on my channel, unfortunately. And the reason why is I've always said Dace, when Mark brings Steve Dace on, like that gets the Michigan people just going. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a Michigan fan. Well, that's why like that Michigan chat is so large. And there's so many of them. And that's why it just seems so overwhelming when they're saying such crazy stuff.
He's been on the Steve Dace show for many years.
He went on there this week. Let me go ahead and put in the link to that.
Yeah. But he's been on that show forever, and he's courting those fans. But my goodness, have you seen? Like I saw Steve Dace on Crane and Company, and he was talking about they got Bryce Underwood, and this is a sign that the Big Ten is just going to get more recruits. They're going to have more money, and the SEC, they're basically going to be a thing in the past. The Big Ten's going to be the new sheriff in town. I'm just thinking, boy, you're putting the cart before the horse with this prediction, acting like the SEC's just not going to do anything. Just lay over and die, man.
Yeah, because, like the Pac-12.
Yeah, because of one.
The SEC will become the Pac-12.
Yeah, the SEC's reigns over, Jeffrey, because one recruit flipped, and it was from LSU to Michigan. One recruit flipped, and that was the beginning of the end. The downfall of the SEC was because of one guy.
That's hilarious, man. The voice of college football, Mark said, I'm on Michigan podcast almost every week of the year, so it's brought people over. Dace's comment section is full of comments about me, mostly complimentary, I will admit. Hey, you're probably the only Ohio State fan they feel that way towards, though. I mean, for real. That's a compliment.
Yeah, I think Mark does a good job on Steve Dace's show, but man, Steve Dace, he is a big homer. He is a massive homer. He likes to be objective, but when he talks about his Golden Maze, it's just.
Oh, I've watched Mark's show. I've never watched Dace's show, but I've watched Mark's shows with Dace on the Voice of College Football, and I'm just like, man, Dace is like going, man. Like Mark can't get a word in edgewise.
Yeah, I noticed like a lot of people commenting on the Michigan podcast talk about that, where it's like, oh, Mark's playing the therapist at this point, or this, that, or the other. Or like Mark's not getting a word in edgewise. I'm like,
Yeah, I don't like that. I try to I know you got commented earlier that Jackson wasn't getting the word in edgewise, but I feel like between me, Darrell, and Sean, it was pretty, a third of the time we were all getting word in.
Yeah, Jackson was like the moderator. He was the guy that, doesn't have to do any of the work, but gets all the benefits and rewards. That's basically what moderators do nowadays. So that's a very big.
I'm never a moderator. I'm always one of the guys in the fray. I mean, I'm doing a ton of takes over here.
well, Darrell, it's great hanging out with you. We'll definitely be seeing each other next Thursday for sure.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't have as many people. I was wanting to talk and just explain my SEC theory to all these Big Ten.
Probably because we moved the show to Wednesday, I guess. But I'm sure we'll have a bigger crowd next week. We'll disappoint. I mean, we had a really big crowd last week. Got to keep that rolling. Definitely get the word out. But yeah, that was definitely open a little bigger crowd. But still, definitely appreciate everybody that was here tonight. Still a very solid crowd. But see, this is my point, though. Mark said in 2020, I debated Dace about Michigan keeping Harbaugh. He wanted him out. And that's what I said earlier. They wanted Harbaugh gone, and now they're saying Harbaugh is the best coach ever. That's what Moose was saying. They don't remember when they wanted him gone.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with being a homer, but people just, their brain capacity or memory capacity is just so short nowadays. I don't know.
It's TikTok, man. People have the attention span, like even adults now, of a 2-year-old. Like, I actually like long-form content. Like, when I watch stuff, I like watching hour-long stuff, 30-minute long stuff. I don't want to watch 5-second clip and then go to the next one. It's keep swiping like this. I don't like that.
You don't like seeing the weird girl sticking her tongue out and the weird dude waving his stash of cash on TikTok?
I don't know what type of stuff you're getting, Jackson, but your
TikTok
type of
is trash, man. I don't have TikTok. I can't stand it.
I don't blame you. It's a bunch of horse dung. I've had like relatives tell you need to use TikTok. You need to use TikTok. I'm like,
well, isn't that
I can have a conversation, though, Jackson? I know people my age that cannot hold a conversation for longer than 10 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever because their brain is so fried over TikTok and swiping and all of this. They cannot continue a conversation. Their brain just, oh, my gosh, hey, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Just gone, instantly dead. It's dead because like their brain just shoots to something else. I gotta instantly, it's something else. Like you're not even doing anything. Back in the past, people actually had aspirations to do stuff. Now people's like, I gotta scroll to the next TikTok, see what's going on. Why don't you do something? You know what I'm saying? Like, why don't you do something in your life? That's why I can't stand when people get caught up in like Swift and Kelsey. It's like, who cares? Get your own relationship. Formulate your own relationship. Why are you so enthralled with somebody else's relationship? It doesn't matter. It's their business. It's their life. It was better when people didn't give a crap about celebrities and politicians' lives. Nobody, they're people. Like everybody else, their personal lives should stay their personal life, but everything has to get aired out on the internet because that's the society we live in today. That's my final rant of the night. I'm done. It's my final rant, but that's the way I feel.
Sorry, Jeffrey. I was on my phone. Can you go over your rant again?
Man.
Thanks, Darrell. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Darrell. And we will definitely see next week, or we'll probably see each other this week for sure.
Yeah, I'll be on the main channel calling in and explaining when I believe Notre Dame beats Penn State. I'll be explaining why the SEC is better than the Big Ten because to continue expanding on Jeffrey's point, nobody remembers the Michigan State versus Boston College game or the Minnesota versus North Carolina game or Purdue getting killed by like 60 points to Notre Dame and then losing to Oregon State or Washington losing to Washington State. These are all results that happened just this year.
I don't think anybody remembers
that Indiana beat Nebraska by 49 and Ohio State beat them by 4. That one still makes me laugh.
Right, but people just look at the last 2 or 3 results and then they form the entire offseason narrative based on that. And I think as the voice of college football community, we should be more educated and smarter in doing this and say we should take the whole season into account. And we shouldn't only take the top 2 or 3 teams. We need to take every team into account. I believe the Michigan State Boston College game should just count for as much as the Ohio State Tennessee game. That's the way I do it. And when you compare it top to bottom, I was going into this thinking the Big Ten was better. I've called into Mark's show and I've said, hey man, the Big Ten looks like the better conference. But then looking at the results, I'm like, man, this isn't even really as close as it was made out to be. The SEC is clearly better. Like, you look at the bowl, I'll give you 3 bowl games to end this up. You have Michigan, Alabama, Missouri, Iowa, South Carolina, Illinois. By conference standings, Missouri, Iowa was the biggest upset. But in terms of rhetoric, seriously, Missouri's the 9th best team in the SEC. They're the worst 5-3 team in the SEC. Iowa's the 6th best team in the Big Ten at 6-3. So, but by rhetoric, everybody's using the other 2.
There we go.
Yeah, that's how the narrative's formed, man. It's never the accurate statement. It's never actually what it is. It's always what fits the narrative, what drives conversation, what drives views. And my last response to what I was saying earlier, Sean said people have always been obsessed with celebrity relations. Jerry, true. I'm not gonna lie, like Queen and Kings back in the past, true. But now with again social media, even if you don't want to know about it, you know about it. Like that's the only way I can avoid it is if I just turn off the radio and turn off Twitter and turn off every form of media that I can consume. You just have to avoid it because like I'm scrolling Twitter, not even caring about that junk, and then it comes up, kind of like whatever, like you said, whatever Jackson had on his TikTok timeline. I don't know what's going on there.
Right, and then as I was trying to explain to Sean before we kind of got lost in the woods there, the SEC, if you look at the narrative, the Big Ten has been unbelievable this playoff. But who have they beaten? They beat SMU, Boise State, Tennessee. The SEC has beaten Arizona State and Clemson. I believe that those 2 wins for the SEC are better than the 3 wins for the Big Ten. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but it's not nearly the gap that people are making it out to be. It's very arguable because you beat the 1 seed in the ACC and the 1 seed in the Big 12. The Big Ten beat the 3 seed in the SEC, the 2 seed in the ACC, and a G5 team. But nobody talks about it that way. And this is why I like Mark and this is why I like these channels is because we understand the nuances of the situation. And I believe Jackson is wanting to go to bed soon based on the way his brain is completely falling out. And his
like literally that was me like 2 weeks ago when we did this show. Like I was not having it. I was so tired. I was like, hey Jackson, can we wrap this up? I'm like I gotta go, man. Like I gotta get some sleep. And tonight, like he's what I was 2 weeks ago. And I'll probably be that way next week. So we'll just rotate between who's more tired.
like seesaw. Well, Darrell, we'll definitely be seeing each other next week or sometime this week. Stay safe, stay warm. It's cold out. Stay away from the cold weather, man.
Well, I wish I could, Jackson, but unfortunately the cold weather has hit me. So
it's even hit my location, which usually I'm like, I'm usually warm where I am. It's warmer than Jackson, but no, it's like it's getting cold where I'm at too. So,
well, stay safe, guys. Okay, it was a good conversation. Talk to you all. Thank you all for having me on so long. Thank you for having me on this channel, and good luck growing this channel. And Alabama should have the most subscribers out of all the SEC channels because they've been the best program in the SEC. So that's how it should work. Good talking to you guys.
Appreciate it, Darrell. Have a great night.
Well, everyone, you saw the definition of a Southern goodbye, where it's like, you think you're going to leave for 1 minute, and that's like, goodbye. Then you talk for 10 minutes.
When you're at Walmart, man, it's like you see somebody, and you think you're going to talk to for a minute, and you talk to them for 5 hours. That's the way it works down here.
Yep. And not only, January 8th is a historical day, because it was like, 4 years ago, it was the last time we saw Alex Trebek as the host of Jeopardy. January 8th is the birthday of Elvis Presley. And of course, it's the 7th anniversary of that game-winning touchdown where Tua Tagovailoa threw to Devontae Smith.
I love it, man. I was watching that guy jumping up and down, man. What a play. What a play, dude. It was so, I mean, you had the sack, man. It's like, we're done. No, it's second and like 19, man. Just drop it back, dropping a dime, walk-off touchdown win. I'll never forget that game. What a classic, man.
There we go. But of course, if you love top-notch discussion, debate, and analysis with no off-season in all college football, come on into the Voice of College Football @Twitter account. Well, you know, there's magic from Tim Pranklin. Oh, well, you know, we're breaking the fourth wall inside 16th wall, inside 64th wall, inside the, you know what, times 4 is 64. I'm a little sleepy. I'm a sleepy owl.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to talk about the algorithms earlier.
And there's Hurricanes Live with Mark Rogers and Cam Underwood. Well, you know, Jordan Bowman, Tiger Paul Craven, the dynamic duo of Clemson, the Mountaineer Locker Room. So many wonderful shows right here on the Voice of College Football. Tell your friends, your family, and the cashiers at Publix about the magic that Mark Rogers and friends are doing at the Voice of College Football. And of course, the top Valentine's Day gift for the college football fan in your life. Disputed National Champions, College Football's Historical 1990s Reset, where you will learn about what happened during the 90s, how the decade changed the sport, why the championship results should be questioned, how to critically think through the scenarios, and appreciate the accomplishments of teams that were not recognized as champions. This book provides an in-depth analysis of the changes, controversies, and outcomes that defined the decade of college football. It challenges readers to explore and critically evaluate the decisions that shape the national championship landscape. Unlock the mysteries of college football's most debated decade. Grab your copy now.
Definitely not going to want to miss that as a Valentine's Day gift, any holiday. You know, it doesn't matter. It can be just a regular day. You know,
who needs chocolates and flowers when you need the disputed national champions?
For the college football fan in your life. Absolutely.
Agreed. Well, Jeffrey, what magic have you got going on this week?
Definitely try to do the show again next week with Will and D over on my YouTube channel, Only Talk Sports. If you guys haven't checked out my YouTube channel, Only Talk Sports, yet, you're not going to want to miss that. I have a show with Will every week talking about college football and predicting the games. And we've been doing that all year, talking about the portal. It's always a fun show. And also, we'll be trying to get back to doing Indiana at the Voice of College Football as well. That show's usually on Tuesday nights, but my schedule's been wonky. It's been crazy. So, but definitely check out Indiana at the Voice of College Football and my YouTube channel, Only Talk Sports. Definitely would appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. And also, you can find me here every Thursday night, tonight, Wednesday, because of scheduling, but every Thursday night with Jackson on the Alabama Call-In Show. Definitely appreciate you guys always for tuning in. It's always a blast talking to you guys about Alabama and basically whatever, because I mean, we always go off the rails. So
yep, sometimes we're straight and narrow, and sometimes we just go off the rails, especially on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. But we have so much fun here with you guys. You guys are what make this happen for us all. And of course, you can check me out on Jackson Johnson 979, where I do the Pits Analysis Show with Austin and the Final Whistle, and I do the Buzzer Beater with Will ND. And of course, there's the Jacksonian. And pretty soon you're going to see some crazy guests, some tremendous guests, whether it's from college football, college basketball, or even from the non-sports world. You're going to see some wild episodes on the Jacksonian coming soon. And for more updates on what I've got coming up, not just on the Jacksonian, but on Alabama with the Voice of College Football, check me out on Jackson VOCFB on @/Twitter and on Instagram /Threads on Jackson Johnson 543-908. Like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss another video whatsoever to Alabama at the Voice of College Football, and we will see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And you can also tune in on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss it. And y'all have a good night. Sleep well. Stay safe. Stay warm. It's cold out. And one more thing.
Roll Tide!